Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Oh, Captain, my captain.
I'm telling you straight, it's my way or the highway.
Oh, command me, Lord. Now you want to get nuts? Come on, let's get nuts.
Tell me something, my friend. You ever dance with the devil in the pale moonlight? I always ask that of all my prey. I just like the sound of it.
I'll have what she's having.
You have chosen wisely.
It reminds us of all that once was good. And it could be again.
My calculations are correct. When this baby hits 88 miles per hour, you're gonna see some serious...
You're listening to the 30-something movie podcast. Classic movies, 30 years in the making.
The plan for today, episode 250. We've had lots of conversations where we're talking about, oh, I love this, I love that, oh, this movie in this genre was cool, yeah, this one was great. And I thought, well, let's have a conversation that involves definitive rankings, where we have to choose a specific order for the things that we like. In this case, the subject we're tackling is cartoons from the 80s. And before we get into it, I want Dennis to explain a little bit about what he was talking, without using any of your titles that Bo is perusing on my computer.
What life was like before the news.
What life was like before animation. No, I called Dennis out when he sent me his list on a couple of things, and he brought up the fact that, you know, he was a child at a different time in the 80s than the rest of us were. His list, while still works with cartoons that aired during the 80s, was not at all in alignment with what I was anticipating. But, well, I'll let you take it from there.
I think we were just saying we grew up. I guess if you grew up in a different time, where a lot of the arguments are like shows that started in the 70s but continued on into the 80s. Sure. And a lot of your lists, I'm assuming, and what I'm guessing, and what he was looking for, were more like a lot of these cartoons that originated in the 80s. Mm-hmm. Well, I didn't really. I looked at that list of those, and I'm like, I knew of the show, but I didn't really watch that. I knew of the show, but I wasn't into that. And there was so many of those. I was going through to kind of refresh my memory, because my first list came out, and I was like, okay, I have this, and that's why I was also like, I got to get back and sit down on that list. I got to figure out a list. I was one of the last ones to get a list, and it was partially because of that, because I kept going, well, yeah, I got to see when that is. Was that 70s or 80s? And I'm like, as a kid, I was born in 71, so. You know, 1980 puts me right at 9 years old, you know, and when do kids watch cartoons? They watch them anywhere from typically 4 or 5 all the way up to teenage years. So I kind of grew into those, or kept with those that were still in existence that started in the 70s, you know, and I won't give you the names yet, but I'm saying that they kind of, some of them just were done in 84, 85, 86.
Dirty Duck.
But when I look
Dirty
back,
Duck, Fritz the Cat.
And you asked me about, about the cartoons, it's like, those are the ones that pop into my mind of us on Saturday, you know, coming home from school. There was 2 times that we watched cartoons. You got home from school and you needed that snack. So it was like, boom, you threw your stuff all over and you got on the couch and got some snacks and you started watching some cartoons. And those were those. And so those ones that, you know, were in my list. And then there was the Saturday ones, which were like Saturday or Sunday morning type of thing. You know, you wake up at like 11 and then you go down, you're having breakfast and you're watching cartoons in the morning. And that was me and my brothers and what I remember. So when I saw those other ones, I just never adopted those. I don't know if it was part of a loyalty to the ones we already had, or was like, hey, we got our favorites. You know, I grew up with these in the 70s. Why would I abandon these to go to one of these other titles? They didn't interest me. It was like, this was my thing. And these were like our go-tos and our go-to characters that we loved. And they were often reruns because they were still producing in the 80s, but then there was ones that were reruns. So I had to eliminate some that were just reruns that weren't being produced in the 80s. Because I could have gone to some of those, and I'm like, well, I looked those up, and I'm like, I can't say those. And the thing is, we would choose a rerun of one of those older ones over some of the new ones. I think the style had changed. The style of the animations had started to change a bit too, a little bit quicker paced, and a little bit kind of what we talked about, some of the CGI. I think I'm not saying it was that, but it was just a different tone and a different speed, and it's like kids who grew up on Mr. Rogers and Sesame Street versus the new Sesame Street, where it's sped up and everything's fast, or SpongeBob, you know. It's just a different. It was just a different vibe. So coming through that list was difficult because when I was looking at all the '80s, I was like, wow, I knew of them, but man, we never watched those. We watched these. because these were good.
It's funny because that makes me think of this point that I think I was talking to you about when I started making my list. There were some that I'm like, well, they seem from different parts of my childhood, and you think of the age range, like you said, okay, you start about 4 or 5 and then up into your teenage years. Mm-hmm. Well, let's fast forward to, let's say some show comes out, whether it's West Wing or 24 or Arrow or any of these modern shows. Between the ages of 25, 30, and 35, that's a 10-year span. And whether I'm 25, 30, or 35, I'm probably going to react to those shows pretty much the same way. I mean, there might be some huge life-changing event, but as you get older, age kind of compresses a little bit to where you're kind of, you know what you like and what you don't like. Now go back in time, 5, 10, 15. That's a huge span of, like, do you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And like you said, the ones, like what I liked at 5, I'm not liking at 10. And what I liked at 10, I'm not liking at 15.
Well, I think we liked them. I think, though, what was cool about the ones that we liked, we also got something out of them different. You saw them differently. Like, when you're 5, you're watching it, it's like, you just, like, basic. And all of a sudden you start going, oh, I get that joke. Because there's a lot of innuendo in there. And there's a lot of these things now that I'm watching at 15, I'm going, oh, my God. Like, whether it be some sort of undertone of sexual innuendo, which sometimes were in there, was a little bit weird. Yeah. And then there were other ones where it was sometimes where it could be perceived as even racist stuff that would appear in some of those cartoons. And you're like, wow, could they do that today?
Animaniacs is so much funnier now.
Versus
now that I go back and watch it after watching it as a kid. As a kid, I was just like, haha, it's a funny show.
Yeah, and they drop fingerprints.
And then I go back and I watch, like, there's a YouTube video. It's like the top, like, how did this get past the censors? Like, and it's like 7 straight minutes of, oh, I didn't get that comment as a kid. Like, I remember this episode and I remember them saying that, but no, I didn't catch that.
Yeah.
Well, the thing too about same thing. When I started to make my list, I sat down and I started to go through and I ranked everything. I was kind of joking earlier. I have my whole folder here of all my papers that I went through and I listed every cartoon. I went through and I looked at every cartoon that was made in the 80s, from 80 to 89, and I made a list of all the ones.
You did the most research out of all of us.
Yeah, I probably did.
As usual. And like, just throwing it out there. But.
And so then I went through and I started listing out.
He has a whole folder here dedicated just to this project.
The people listening at home will not see the folder, but this was the original list of me listing out all the 80s cartoons, and then me writing down, and this is just the ones I had seen. So I went through and I looked up all the lists of every cartoon made in the 80s, and then made a list of all the ones I had seen, and then started going through and weeding it down from there. But as I'm thinking through this list...
The unredacted Mueller report has nothing on it.
Pretty much, yeah. Special guest Bill Barr will be showing up later. But no, so I started to go through my list, and that was the same kind of thing. Like, I was going through and I was saying, all right, well, there's a difference between what I look at now and say, ooh, yeah, I like that now, versus what really affected me when I was a kid. Like, trying to look back with nostalgia, or not with nostalgia, but trying to project myself back to how did I feel as a kid when I watched this. Because my list would be totally different if I was like, today, if I were to go back and rewatch all these cartoons today, which ones would be my top 5? And that's not the way that I went. The way that I went was, from what I can remember as a kid, which one of these cartoons, when it came on, did I just like rush to the TV and I was like, oh, it's time to watch, and just go nuts over. So that was the way I ended up making up my list, which then as I'm doing that and I'm thinking about this, and I was telling my kids about this, I realized that they will never have the same experience we had. They don't have Saturday morning cartoons. There was a point one morning in which I think sometimes when they would watch cartoons on a Saturday, the way they do it is they go to the TV, they turn on the Apple TV, they go to Netflix, and everybody gets to choose a cartoon they want to. So they just cycle through, find what they want, and watch it that way. And at one point in time, I think we had a Hulu trial, and Hulu had a channel that was all 70s and 80s cartoons. And so then I was in charge of the cartoons that morning. I was like, guys, we're going to watch Heathcliff. What's Heathcliff? I don't know that I want to... Nope, we're doing it. And so I gave them a selection of cartoons I wanted them to watch. And they're like, well, that's kind of fun. Can we just go back to choosing the ones that we want now?
Yeah.
And I'm like, so then I started, no. And I turned off the TV. I said, I'm going to explain to you the way cartoon watching was when I was a kid. And you watched what was on, and if you missed it, too bad.
You're not going to find out until next week what happens.
Right.
We must go to another cartoon.
And if you missed that episode, you will not see it again until somebody picks it up in syndication and it's in reruns, and too bad for you.
Is it snowing outside?
And,
Start
they
walking.
looked at you and said, "Syndicate."
They're like
Who's
reruns. Reruns. What's that?
What's this you speak of?
We watch cartoons uphill both ways.
Right.
And we
No
liked
shoes.
Mm-hmm. So they will not. I mean, that was the thing I was
I
thinking
was
of
going
too.
to
Is
ask
they
you,
will
like,
not
does
have
anybody, does anybody watch cartoons regularly now?
Oh yeah. Well, I guess what you,
on Netflix.
What do you
But,
call?
like, do you regularly?
What do you call cartoons? Are you talking about an animated, like Family Guy, American Dad, Simpsons? Those are all on my DVR.
Okay.
I am watching the updated DuckTales.
That was fun when that one.
I
came
guess
on,
more
we
of the
watched that
kids,
too.
more the ones that were designed for like older ones or kid one. Do you watch any?
Yeah, I've been watching the
watch some with
updated
my kids.
DuckTales.
Okay.
I watch Arthur if Arthur's on. I really like Arthur.
Okay.
Nice.
Yeah, and see that was
I think
the
they do a great
that
job
was the
on that
closest
show.
our kids can when you say they miss out on experience, and I guess maybe my kids are. Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think. Yeah, I mean, guess 2000.
Because except for like
my kids had the
when
experience of Arthur and Dragon Tales,
except for PBS
and all those things. PBS,
like we'd watch
that was
PBS
it.
and there was
Yeah.
like, what was it like, Caillou and the what are they called, the Wild Krauts or the whatever the name of the
Rugrats.
What's the one?
No,
my
it was the
niece
one that they could
got
Wild
right
Kratts.
now?
Wild Thornberries.
Wild Kratts.
Was it the one that they could turn themselves into,
Paw
like get the
Patrol.
abilities of different animals and
Dino trucks.
Yeah.
Cat in the Hat, that kind of stuff, or Dinosaur Train? She loves
Dinosaur
that
Train was a good
one.
one.
But I mean, it wasn't like
Peppa Pig. My niece is
That's
a
the
real
closest I
about
think my
Thomas.
kids have to have that experience, and
yeah.
I think they
Right.
do have that. I don't know if because your kids are young, we're younger than ours, but because we didn't have the ubiquitousness of like everything with cable and everything. I mean, we had PBS, and I don't even think we had necessarily cable at that point. We might have, but we didn't have 50 stations, and it wasn't right. It literally was PBS. They come home, this show's on.
Right.
And it was like perfect.
And you don't have-
and
you don't
it
have
was
Saturday
by
morning cartoons
time.
anymore.
And the cool
Right.
thing was it was by time because we didn't have a DVR in a lot of those years where we could just DVR them and watch them later. So they had to get home and they had to be at a certain time, and they were because they weren't in sports or anything at that time.
Right.
Come home and it was like their routine. So they will remember those shows and have a little taste of what we had, which was a daily Animal Weekend thing. For some
So
years.
yeah, I was, and that's kind of where my head was too with this was what do I remember about watching cartoons when I was a kid? Specific times, after school cartoons, Saturday morning cartoons, and then I also had before school cartoons in the morning. We had a little 5-inch, little 6-inch black and white TV in the kitchen that if you turned the dial just right and held this antenna over this way, you'd be able to pick up one of the channels. And there were a couple of cartoons on the weekday mornings that we'd
you could squeeze something in before, you can get a little before school starts, and it was possible.
So the way that this list works, or that I'm hoping this works,
A little more difficult as
is
you're older.
Yes.
we all have our top 5, and then I also said, okay, we can have 1 or 2 honorable mentions if we wanted to just bring up a couple of titles that we love this, but not quite top 5. And I know John's always giving somebody flack for adding cells on the chart and adding rows on the chart. I will hereby say it's me.
Yeah.
I do it a lot. And I kept myself to my own rules. I did not add any cells. In fact, I had one cell that I doubled up on some titles, and I'm like, nope, gonna play by the rules fair and square. So I deleted one of the shows off my list.
Proud of you.
Thank you.
That's huge, man.
That's all I've wanted to hear from you for the last 250 episodes.
Okay, I'm proud of you.
Well, thank you. Well, I'm
It
done.
only took 250.
You kept John to a hard list too, which is kind of impressive.
Yeah, well,
He'll break his own rules.
I kept.
Well, I think after this podcast,
I kept
John's
coming
going to
at
stay
him.
behind and do his own podcast.
Right, where he talks about
Where
all
he
the
gets
shows he
talk
couldn't
about
talk about.
the real 250th episode.
Right.
Welcome to episode number 250B. This is John.
See what gets
Here are
published.
selections 6 through 50.
If you don't
That's
have a
how-
lot of, if you don't
that's
have a
how
lot of
he'll
time
know.
to listen, just listen to part B.
Yeah.
That's how he'll know if any of us actually listen to what gets published. Because
Yeah.
I'll just
So-
publish my half.
exactly.
So I jumped on YouTube. I found theme song recordings of all of your submissions. Some of them may have
What
ads.
kids of the movies watching class this week?
Princess Bride.
Kid, you're going to watch Princess Bride again. I'll
Leverage.
memorize it this time.
Some of them may have ads. We don't necessarily support any products that may be popping up on any of these theme song playings, but unless they want to give us money, then we support them fully.
Yeah.
So we're going to start with honorable mentions. We're just going to go around the table. So we'll start with John's first honorable mention. We're going to go ahead and fire this thing up and see if it works.
Does John have any, because this happens with
That would be
John
an
once
ad.
in a while. Does
John
he have
never
any
had
cool
ads on
ones
his.
from when he was in England?
No.
I wonder if maybe
this
any
is,
of those
This
made
is
the
his
top.
first honorable mention.
Actually,
In a distant time and faraway place, the planet of New
Dennis is over here like, this is stupid. I have no idea what this is.
This is the 80s?
shut up.
I love this cartoon.
Thank you.
And I'm from north of the Mason-Dixon line.
I vaguely remember this one.
I do not.
Set that a little.
Oh, this is ridiculous. Wait, I do remember that now.
Thank you.
It's awesome.
I don't know about that. I'm saying I
Oh, it's
remember
awesome.
it now.
What channel was this on?
I don't remember.
Texas for Texas. I see my brother remembers this one.
I was the kid that was upset to realize that Bozo the Clown was not in Dallas. That I couldn't just go to the taping of the show. When somebody
so I was
was
on it twice.
when somebody was like, "It's in Chicago," I was like, "I want to be on the Bozo show." They're like, "It's in Chicago." I'm like, "What's Chicago?"
No, not Chicago.
Is it
Bozo.
Isn't it? Yeah, Bozo. I want to go. Take me to be on the show. I can get it in the buckets there. But
Man, I wish they had the reruns of that, speaking of, because I was on twice.
were you?
I was on once. I have it on VHS. I need to transfer it.
Sharon has a
I
cousin that
played
was on
Steal
once.
the Bacon one time with the group game, the second game they do, and then one time I was Bozo Buckets made bucket number 5.
Right on.
And then I was totally like iced by Fraser Thomas, man.
Oh, that
Totally-
doesn't surprise me.
I was in a groove. Bam, 1, 2, 3. I'm like, okay, bring in the prizes. 3, 4. Fuck, all right, yeah, sleeping bag, whatever. Boom. And then the next one, I was like, all set, ready to throw. And he just puts his hand in front of me. He's like, oh, wait a second here. Well, you know what we got in that bucket? We got a brand new Schwinn bicycle and a $50 bill, blah, 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 and building. And then meanwhile, he's talking to us. Now I'm like starting to get all frozen. I'm like, I'm start shaking, and all of a sudden, it's the drum roll. I'm like, you didn't have a drum roll on every other one. At least I didn't hear it. And then I'm like, boom, and I just like threw it like 500 miles into the camera. It was like 3D or something. I'm like, and then he says, "Aw, Shaw," and I was just like, "Aw."
Aw, something.
Little Catholic schoolboy in the uniform. I have the picture. I'm like this. I have that picture still. And
So,
Bo's bringing out
Brave Star.
consolation prize.
Yeah.
What is it about Brave Star that?
The fact that it's on the planet of New Texas.
Yeah.
Because like
as
Bo,
a kid growing up
I
in
didn't
Texas,
recognize. I didn't remember
Until the
until
Puma
I
and Bear thing, then I was
until
like,
I saw.
So you
watched
yes,
the YouTube.
you
Yeah,
yes,
I watched
but
this.
we really didn't know
The
that.
horse would stand up.
I
Remember
know.
this
I
horse?
remember
like,
seeing it.
Okay,
Yeah.
I
wasn't
never
into
watched
though.
it.
I wasn't into this.
Wait, the
one.
horse's name was 3030?
3030 was his name, yeah.
That makes it even cooler.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
No, I did. In fact, when we started talking about this, or we talked about this maybe a year or two ago with one of our other episodes, and I think I feel like I mentioned Brave Star, and when you all looked at me weird, I was like, what universe? There is a multiverse, and there's a world in which none of you know what Brave Star is, and it's just like, it blew my mind. I was like, but this is like, it's like Transformers, it's like Ghostbusters, it's Brave Star, it's like,
I remember,
why do you not
like,
know?
the funniest thing
So
is
I didn't know if this was just a Texas thing. So then that got me thinking. I was like, did this only air in
No,
Texas?
and I
it's
watched
like,
it. They were
okay.
fighting for that red dilithium crystal stuff, right?
Yeah.
That was the stuff they were. And then the one guy showed up, the gunman, and he would load the gun and he would shoot, and that was like, oh my god, the gun is powered by the superpower crystal.
Yeah.
And
And you had the big, like, it was almost like a cow type thing.
Yes.
Stampede was his name, and Tex Hex was the
Tex
bad guy.
Hex.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
See, like,
Remember Tex
little
Hex.
random bits of this ring bells, and I don't know why. It's very strange. But my brother is confirming he doesn't remember watching it either, so that means we didn't. Will and I we're close enough in age that
You're one and the same, basically.
our TV tastes at that age were very similar because we had the one TV. You got home from school and meh. What do you do? And we were latchkey kids.
He
for
and
years,
Will are
and-
basically like Quado in Total Recall.
Well, I think that's another part of it too. Like, who's the youngest? who's the youngest, oldest? I'm the youngest of 5. So for me, that also played an important because when you have one TV,
I'm the oldest too.
you're influenced by often the likes of your brother. So you're going to watch the cartoon that your brother likes because he was older and they've watched these for years, and you just kind of inherit those like hand-me-downs. And how dare you, as a the young whippersnapper, is going to like introduce whatever Brave Star, whatever. I'm like,
Planet of New Texas.
They'd have been like, get out of here, shut up, and go to the other room.
Marshall
I'd have been locked in the closet.
Brave Star.
Of course.
With 30-30 is
Marshall Dillon
and Judge J.B. McBride. And okay,
of course.
Fine. And what I did not know, and I did little because I do research, what I did not know was the design. When they came up with the show, it was based on a design for the villain. It was Tex Hex was the name of the villain. And it was a design for the Ghostbusters cartoon. They were going to have a cowboy ghost in one of their episodes. And they were like, no, actually, we like this design. Let's just base a show around it. So that's when they started to develop the other space cowboy characters for Brave Star.
All I have to say is, holy crap, folks, that was just an honorable mention.
Yeah.
Like I said, episodes 250 to 257.
Yes, sir.
That's got to go
Well,
now.
so I will say that for most of our lists, there's a lot of repetition.
There we go.
Yeah.
All right.
With the exception of Dennis.
Which is cool.
And Brave Star.
And Brave Star.
Brave Star.
But we're going to jump to Bo's first honorable mention, which I believe shows up on...
Guys, this has got to be on a couple other lists somewhere.
On a couple, yeah.
Yeah.
At least 2 or 3 other lists.
And let me say, this did not fall to honorable mention because I didn't enjoy it. It just fell because the other entries on the
Most
list.
of mine, even
This
the
was a
honorable
very
mentions, I was
difficult
like,
list to cull.
Mm-hmm.
So
I
this
didn't
is
realize how much time I spent in front of the TV back then, but might
So
explain a few
this is
things.
another Filmation.
And the masters of the universe. I am Adam, Prince of Eternia and defender of the secrets of Castle Grayskull. This is Cringer, my fearless friend. Fabulous secret powers were revealed
Fabulous secret powers.
Yeah. There's, yeah.
There are some memes online I know that are like,
Fabulous, huh?
Fabulous secret powers were revealed to me when I held aloft my magic sword.
They have some really cool vehicles that they can fly around on. Those blue pod things, and was it Man-at-Arms had the green?
Yeah.
So He-Man does show up on 4 out of the 5 lists of our group in various rankings.
I wonder who's did you.
One of the ways I sort of culled my list was kind of how did my enjoyment of the cartoon expand beyond the cartoon? Like, if I have a toy or something from the cartoon that sort of pushed it higher up on the list, we had the sword, and it made all sorts of weird noises when you swung it through the air, and that was kind
Did you
of
have Castle Grayskull?
No, He-Man wasn't one that
And
we
Snake
had
Mountain.
a lot of
I didn't have Snake
parts to.
Yeah.
But we did have that sword, and well,
If you haven't yet, jump on Netflix and watch The Toys That Made Us.
Yeah.
I have seen
the
so
He-Man
good.
episode.
Oh god, that whole series is awesome. And we may have hit each other over the head many times with that plastic sword, and it may have gotten blood spilled on it a few times. You know,
That's what it's there for.
exactly.
Yeah, I mean, this was one of those shows that I don't want to talk too much about it because it's, like you said, it's on our other list, so we may bring it up again. But it's one of those that because there were so many toys that went along with it, that I think at one point in time, I probably had the vast majority of the toys that came out for this. And I had like three different He-Man figures you could get. And there was, eventually they came out with the slime, like Ghostbusters had slime, He-Man had slime. There were the castles, there were the ships, there were just everything. And then especially when the movie came out, because there's one that's on my list too, that a live action movie came out following the cartoon. And when this He-Man movie came out, I just remember a whole bunch of my friends just went absolutely nuts. The fact that they were making a movie out of a cartoon that we loved. And I feel like before He-Man, I don't know if that happened. If there was any other case where that happened. They made a
This was
movie
the other
out of a
one I was
cartoon.
So close to putting that one on my list.
when I talked about toys. That was the other. Yeah.
All right, so moving on to Pat's first honorable mention. Pat, you with us? Everything good?
I am. I didn't remember I put honorable mentions down, so this is this is exciting
It's
for
been a
me.
surprise for Pat.
This is yeah.
I applaud this choice.
So do I.
This is one I would have bet was in the 90s. I would have had to look it up to confirm it was the 80s. And I had to look up a bunch of mine. I was
Yeah, we had to look them up. And I remember growing up with Well, I love the Muppets. The
Yeah.
Muppet movie, Muppets Take Manhattan, all that. We loved it. So when you could watch a cartoon, it was just more Muppets, more better. We loved that. We grew up. My folks would play the Muppet Show. We'd all watch the Muppet Show. So it was just more Muppets, more better. And and I just remember just being hooked into the stories.
And the fact that they'd reference other movies.
Yeah.
Like that Star Wars is in the opening credits. Of
And that was Starscream's blaster.
No, I think that was...
that was
the sound of...
That was the sound of
but
it.
But it was Darth
Right.
Vader's TIE Fighter.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was a Saturday morning one.
Yeah, it was.
I definitely remember watching Muppet Babies.
Yeah.
And I thought about putting it on my own list, and then you sent out yours.
Yeah.
And I looked, and I'm like, I don't have to worry about dropping this one in honorable mentions. Patrick took care of that for me.
And as I got older, I probably phased away from it a little bit and just got more into watching the Muppets. But of all of them, and I haven't watched it in a long time, like I would be like, hey, Dominic, Danielle, we got to watch some Muppet Babies. Because we watched the Muppet movies and all that. And I would be like, yeah, this could be one with my kids. I wouldn't mind getting back into.
And the cartoon was a spin-off of the Muppet Babies from Muppets Take Manhattan.
I remember, yeah.
They did that little flashback sequence in Muppets Take Manhattan.
Right.
And then we were treated to the animated show. Yeah, I liked Muppet Babies. I thought it was a lot of fun. I just remember it encouraged a lot of creativity.
Yeah.
You know, watching these little Muppets play pretend and coming up with ideas.
And they introduced a new character too, right? There was
Skeeter.
Skeeter. There was Scooter, and then Skeeter was like the sister or something.
Voiced by Howie Mandel.
Yeah.
Using the same voice he did with the Mogwai.
Oh, okay.
And Bobby from Bobby's World.
Bobby.
Just one voice, 3 different jobs.
Cool.
Good for him.
Oh, yeah.
But
nice work if you can get it.
Skeeter's not in the reboot.
Okay.
Muppet Babies recently was rebooted.
Yeah, I remember hearing that.
And Skeeter's no longer in the show. Don't know why.
Is it out yet, the reboot? Mm-hmm. Oh, it is?
I think it's on Disney Channel.
Oh, okay.
I'm assuming it's on Disney Channel. I don't know.
On Disney's streaming service,
but
I'm sure.
It's more of a computer animated look. So
yeah, the preview looked...
Yeah.
Not even like... How do I say this? Not good computer look either. It looked like you felt it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and I think for us too, specifically when we hear a title like Muppet Babies, we have very specific images that we think of. So seeing anything outside of that,
and like I said,
really just
I
doesn't sit right.
I couldn't tell you one episode that happened, and probably why this ended up on an honorable mention. I just remember watching it and enjoying it, and just as a kid. But very little.
It was certainly part of the block. You
Yeah.
know, if you were up early enough, there's a good 2-3 hours back in the day. You could just.
Oh yeah, at least.
Well, in this one, I think because it has so many of the pop culture references, like because whenever they play make believe, they'd always bring in. You'd either get like they would dress up as a character from another movie, or it'd be like.
Well, and
one time did they do something with like Gone with the Wind? One time
they hit them all. I feel like they did Indiana Jones.
They'd have footage from the actual movies,
and they would do that.
Right, they would cut away to that. And
I almost feel like that's Muppet Babies. So if you don't do that with the reboot,
other? What's going on?
That's right. Yeah. Texting my list to see what else I forgot about. Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just if they weren't doing that with the reboot, where you actually include modern pop culture references, then to me that's what I remember about Muppet Babies. Is that was a big, huge piece of it.
Their Thanos episode's coming.
Oh, okay.
Now I'm curious to go back and actually watch it just to remember what that was all
like. You know what? A few years ago, I pulled up a couple episodes on YouTube and showed the kids, and they liked it.
Okay.
So
that is the cool thing about digging back into these 80s cartoons is you can find a lot of the episodes just anywhere, like on YouTube. Yeah. You don't have to go looking all that hard, which is awesome. Yeah.
There's several Brave Star episodes on YouTube if you're interested.
Yeah, my brother's been texting me. He's been checking them out. He must be a slow day at work or he's home already. His one comment, though, not a great theme. So
for which one? For that?
Well, he's wrong. He just said there is wrongness.
Them's fighting words.
Will's wrong, so that's fine. That's okay.
I will be sure to share that.
Muppet Babies one. I mean, that's one that I remember. We saw some episodes, but like what Pat said, I don't know if I could really remember an episode that stuck out, or you're like, oh, I remember this scene or that character. We loved the Muppets,
right?
And that was our thing. And this was kind of like, yeah, okay, but it wasn't wasn't bad, but it wasn't something that we flocked to.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't remember the episode any more than I remember just the make-believe section. Like, they would do that, and they would do a little thing from a movie, kind of, and then they'd get out. It was
Whereas
almost...
the real Muppet Show, we can go through skits. And skits, and I could get
yeah.
Musical
and that's probably a little bit of the age difference.
Yes.
Like, you're like, okay, cool, but I'm kind of aging out, whereas I'm in the more Muppets, more better.
Yeah. Where if I was younger, I think Muppet Babies might have been more appealing, maybe.
Yeah.
Which I think is the name of the new Muppet movie. More Muppets, more better.
So Dennis only had one honorable mention. Do you want to do yours now, or do you want to wait until the
Dennis,
second
do
round?
it. Dennis is less honorable.
Because it got kind of bumped to there because it was originally, but we had.
This would be a commercial.
I was gonna
one
say,
time
whoa,
wait a minute.
One time I debuted it.
Yeah.
Is that Gem and the Holograms? Was that your?
That was on the list as it moved up and down, but it was on the list.
Spider-Man and his amazing friends, Iceman and Firestar. Spider-Man and his amazing friends.
Even with the new movies out, when I think of Spider-Man villains, those are the ones that are like
in your brain.
There, like that Green Goblin, and that is what I see from that era.
Just listening to the soundtrack, the music, I'm just like, that's awesome. I mean, it's got like the prog rock keyboards, like right out of Emerson, Lake and Palmer, or that playing the and that like the whole melody is carried. And
it puts it in a time too.
Right,
It says this is when this was written,
and this is awesome. And here's the thing: like if the '80s was the decade of the saxophone, right? The 70s was the decade of the trumpet, and like you listen to that melody there, and it's just like brass, like rock brass, and I love it as a trumpet player. I mean, I'm just like growing up listening to Maynard and all that. Yeah, so that's cool, man. That's a cool theme too.
See, and that one began when? Did we look at when that actually began? I remember it ended like mid '80s. Yeah, 81 to 86. So that was
all
right.
So now, if you look at,
I think that's the only legit one that actually works by the standards of the rest of us.
Yeah,
but see now, if you go by the time frame again, now you're putting me at 10 years to 15, 16.
Right.
So you're going to be flocking towards that superhero as a kid, and coming off the old, I think it was 60s, had to be, maybe it was 70s, the old Spider-Man, where it was with the theme song, Spider-Man, Spider-Man,
70s,
does whatever, but like that, we were like sold on that. So when this came, you're going to naturally go to it, even though it was invented, like came up in because you already were connected to the old one. It's weird because you love that theme.
Yeah.
Where we're just still like, we like the old theme, man.
You like the
We love
Spider-Man?
the old thing. We love,
that's
my God,
classic, man.
Yeah, we just would sometimes we would just walk in the room for the theme and then leave.
Right. Well,
We
here's
had
the
to go
thing.
somewhere.
I hadn't heard this theme until today.
Okay.
Like I don't remember this show. Like I'm just like.
And I don't remember the theme all that well
Yeah.
either. I remember the opening visuals, which is where the visuals stick with you, but the theme didn't.
And it's interesting that came in the '80s.
It's the synth
because
stuff.
if you
It just doesn't hold up.
that it came on in the '80s because it just to me, and I could be, but it seems to have like a '70s kind of vibe sound to it. That's what,
Well, it makes sense. If it opened in '81, there's a great, and I can't remember who has the theory of it, but the musical trends tend to push, like when you say the 70s, you're really talking about 74 to 81, 2-ish. Like
once it becomes mainstream.
Yeah, the way those trends work, you always get that carryover. The guy writing in 81 had been writing stuff in the 70s, so that's where all that comes from.
Remember that author that I interviewed the one time on the one show, when I was talking to him, Kevin Smokler, that was kind of what he said, because I asked him a question about, well, so what should we look forward to for 90s? And he's like, well, really and truly, until you get to about 92, 93, you're really still kind of in the 80s. Like a lot of your 80s movies are still...
music, it's weird how culture
just saying, listen to the soundtrack show interview with Vince DiCola because he talks about all that kind of,
cool.
and yeah. So just throwing that out there.
Now, I will say, the first time I went and read an X-Men comic book, because Iceman is supposed to be an X-Man, the first time I read a comic book and I saw him in there, I'm like, that's a bunch of bull crap. He's not an X-Man. He lives with Spider-Man and Firestar. That's totally, as a kid, I was like, that's wrong. No. I know he lives in an apartment with Spider-Man and Firestar. And I remember getting really upset about it.
I remember just loving the secret handle, and it flips everything over into Command Central or whatever they called it. I can't remember.
That's cool.
All right, so my first honorable mention.
All right, here we go.
Yeah, we've got like 60 more to go, guys.
Well, but like you said,
there might be a part B.
There's duplicates, so I think we'll be all right.
So this was another Saturday morning one for me.
Sing a happy song. La 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 la. Smurf the whole day long.
Smurf along with me. Simple as can be.
Next time you're feeling blue, just let a smile begin. Happy things will come to you.
So smurf yourself a grin.
Ooh, I hate Smurfs. I'll get you. I'll get all of you if it's the last thing I ever do.
What struck me looking at these and listening to a couple of the themes when I was looking at my list was how long some of these intro themes
Yeah.
These were half-hour cartoons with 3-minute intros. Figure, 5 to 10 minutes of commercials, depending on what year it was, because obviously, later into the 80s, more and more commercial content. How much cartoon were we actually getting in the end?
Go back and look at it.
So
It's 10 minutes long.
It's kind of crazy.
They're there to get you to watch the commercials.
I collected,
Right, exactly.
I collected a lot of Little Smurfs, which
some
I
of
think are
them
still somewhere in
some of
my
these shows are
parents'
commercials.
basement somewhere.
Okay.
But I had a whole bunch of the little figures. I don't know what it was about that show that I really loved.
Do you have that when that came out? And how old you were? When did
That was early to mid 80s, I think. I don't remember my first time watching.
81.
When
it started.
I remember.
and then-
I remember that was one
But-
that I always had to watch every week.
But contrary to most of these, I don't know if everyone else found this, but a lot of the ones I liked seem to have only 1 or 2 seasons. But I would have sworn they lasted forever.
But no, some of them are huge seasons.
And maybe that's it.
Because there's one that we'll get to later that was on my. Well, actually, we already did. He-Man. He-Man is only 2 seasons. It has 130 episodes.
Oh, okay. Well, I feel better.
So
about
they
that.
had like 60 episode seasons.
Yeah, Smurfs were on for 9 seasons, though. I mean, they were serious. They weren't fooling around.
I mean, I think I aged out of that because I knew the Smurfs. They were everywhere. I mean,
oh yeah,
we couldn't miss. We knew the Smurfs.
Well,
were
yeah,
there.
like
we just didn't adopt that as
when
a
I was a
show
kid.
for
We went to the Escapades, and it was that
some-
year.
How old were you
Smurfs
at
on
that
Ice.
age? At that time, 81, 82?
82, I would have been 4, so it would have been a
Yeah,
little bit
so
older
you're,
than that.
So okay, so you're so that's So you're growing up during the whole heyday of Smurfs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, where I'm already.
So swinging around back to
cool for it.
John's second honorable mention. Damn it.
I didn't know. This is another one I didn't know existed, I think.
Really?
As a cartoon, I don't think I knew this was a thing.
Really?
Oh, I knew it.
Yeah, I really don't think I knew that there was.
I bet 2 seasons, maybe.
Yeah, now that I
softened
see
Beetlejuice and
it.
kind of made him into a.
But is that like 2 seasons worth? Probably. I bet. Didn't last that long.
The visuals are bringing back stuff, though.
The song is like, I keep wanting to hear the Beetlejuice theme, and they're throwing. It's very,
Yeah.
erratic.
Now that I see the visuals, maybe I did.
This is one that I feel like when we were watching, I feel like we'd watch this one around the same time that we'd be watching like Pee-wee's Playhouse and some of the other stuff. I feel like if they were rerunning it or however they were doing it, either we'd flip back and forth between different channels and we'd catch one and then the other. But I feel like this is one that was around about the same time. And I love the Beetlejuice movie. So when this one came out and you got a chance to see more of like the not underworld, but the afterlife, whatever you want to call that. And you just had all the crazy monsters and other stuff that they would deal with. I was like, okay, cool, I'm in. But that was mine. That was one of those that I would get super excited when that one came on. We would always try not to miss that one. And I think my sister liked it too, but I didn't care because I was in charge of the remote.
Yeah, she had to watch. Yeah.
What was she going to do? Take it from you?
Right.
All right, so here's Bo's second honorable mention.
From now on, like your parents were, you are the secret force of pole position.
They're moving real fast, they're the only ones who can get there on time. Okay, sis. And never too far behind, they are always fighting crime.
It's not time, Dan.
Ready when you are, Rhodey. In the danger zone. Pretty soon,
I feel like this would have Pat written all over it.
Yeah, I know, right? So, where some of these were big advertisements to sell more toys,
right?
There was a video game that went along with this, and I can't remember which was first. I'm trying to remember. I think the video game was first, and then the TV show was sort of like a marketing arm of that.
I remember the video. I had it.
Oh yeah,
That was an Atari game.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
I wasn't any good at it.
Well, no, me neither. That's not the point.
Video game came first.
It was the first.
It was 82.
Okay, that makes sense.
Video game was 82 and cartoon I think was 84.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pole position was.
Because we have it on one. You know those little video game things that you could buy and just plug in the the audio video cables to your TV.
Way.
We have one that has pole position, Pac-Man, and Galaga.
Right on.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was fun. It was sort of like a animated version of Knight Rider, you know? They were the stunt car team that fought crime, you know?
Cool.
It only had a very little episode, like 13, one season, 13 episodes. But it was so much fun, and it was, I can't remember, 84, so I was 3, my brother was 1, so we didn't see it in first run. We saw it in reruns somehow, but we loved it. I mean, it was just, we had so much fun with it. And neither of us are big car guys or anything, but something about that show.
And what's funny is I don't recognize anything about the show. I played the video game. I don't recognize anything about the show, but I recognize the song.
I wonder if the song was in the game.
No.
Okay.
Well, is this
the game was just very, very simple.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't. Yeah.
Simple video game music. Like, I'm not going to do it.
Prepare to qualify.
Yeah, prepare to qualify.
Yeah. And that was the one that influenced this? Because
So
that one was like...
It's based off of that, yeah.
Huh.
I mean, like any of the toys,
I don't know.
I'm trying.
I don't know the
specifically
music from the
not
game, I
saying
just
the
know
name
the
of
sound when your
shows
car
that we're going to
explodes.
get to on purpose here. I'm like, I'm trying to make a point.
I'm just saying it's funny because I'm like the old guy this episode.
I seriously, I don't know.
You're the old guy every episode.
Well, anyway.
Get off my lawn.
You bring a perspective. Perspective.
Well, no, it's interesting because my attitude is such a bad attitude with some of these.
Yeah.
When I say bad attitude, I don't mean like I'm gonna get all upset over it. But when I'm watching that, well, you know what thought pops in my head? This will show you, and I think there was a certain sense of loyalty to the older cartoons. It's like that's not Speed Racer.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Like that's not Speed Racer. Like Speed Racer, no, it's not Speed Racer. Like Speed Racer's so if we had a choice, pole position or Speed Racer, we're going Speed Racer.
Well, I think I might too.
But it's 1960, whatever.
Right,
so,
exactly.
See, and those are when my brothers. I mean, they were born in the 60s, and then they were, that kid age and watching all those, and that's just
Should
what
we
you
have
watch.
Should we have personalized this episode for Dennis and let him do the 70s?
No, it's just a very it's just a very interesting episode because it shows you how you age out of a certain time period of time.
I wonder if that...
I'm wondering what my thought process was, and I think it's a loyalty to these because I literally am thinking
you feel like that's challenging.
Like that's cheating on the other one.
I wonder if this leads us into what our 300th episode might need to be.
We'll save that for question 5.
As I know, but I'm saying
when we get to that in about 7 hours.
Right.
Play the Speed Racer theme so Dennis can be happy. And
I'm just like wondering.
on.
It's so weird that I didn't adopt these new shows that came out.
We're moving on to Pat's second honorable mention, and thank you.
Another wonderful choice.
I didn't even give him a chance.
Yeah.
Thank you for putting this on your list, so I didn't have to.
I think I know what this one is.
You are a kid at heart, and I love you for it.
Yeah. I know what this is. Yeah, I love this one.
Because it was so fun.
I love this one as a kid. Love it. You can sing along?
Gummy bears, bouncing here and there and everywhere.
Was this the Cell Gummy Bears too?
Was that?
Was this the Cell Gummy Bears?
No. They were, no, well, they might have, but I don't know.
No, I think, yeah, I don't know. It's a good
Because then I'm
question.
starting to think, like, maybe
Well,
I
a lot
bought,
of these
maybe I
are,
bought
man.
that because everything was a Cell product.
And, well, all of them, so, yeah, I mean,
Well,
the
ultimately-
show is there to get you to watch the
ultimately,
commercial.
But some are direct product placement, you know?
The,
like
well,
pole
when you,
position to
when
do
you,
the gate card game, I did put that two together because we played pole position.
Right.
I didn't know that.
Says loosely inspired by gummy bear candies.
Okay, so there you
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
See,
you're going to call something
Disney-
gummy bears. Of course, it's inspired by the candy.
Right.
Disney
Oh, we
CEO.
weren't sure which came first.
It was a happy
Oh, we
accident.
weren't sure which came first.
The
gummy bears or
candy.
that.
Disney CEO. Here's from Wikipedia.
The chicken.
Disney. Yes. Disney CEO Michael Eisner was struck with inspiration for the show when his son requested the candies one day.
Yeah.
Oh, Eisner's trying
Okay,
to
so they weren't
take
actually
credit for
marketing.
anybody.
and you know
version.
what?
Probably
And
wasn't
my honorable mentions
Haribo
again.
didn't,
This is as I was younger. Like I remember liking this when I was younger. But I mean, the show was great, and I played it for Dominic and Daniela a number of years ago, and both of them. Dominic's starting to age out of it, but they both they're just transfixed, and there's got, you got some fighting in there, but it's not overly violent or gory. I mean, it's like it's not like a. Well, I'll tell you, it's funny. Like Tom and Jerry, like my mom would be like, turn that off, because of the violence. Like we'd watch Looney Tunes but like G.I. Joe, she'd come down, turn that off.
That's a crime.
And that,
That's good stuff.
But which I don't debate. But when my mom was sitting there, my mom was and and her thing was she didn't like the Three Stooges either, because she says, "Why am I going to sit?" My dad loved, and it was like, "Why are you just going to sit and watch people?" Like I don't find the humor in
Because
that.
it's funny.
Right.
You bring that to the Irish Mother Superior and let me know when you
I won't.
when you drag yourself out of the room. I'll be out there.
Man.
But I'm saying
we would have called DCFS.
troll. But the gummy bears, they fought the bad guys, they fought the trolls, but it was never so violent that I'd be like kind of cringing and saying, it was I found it was a fun show. The theme is like, I mean.
Well, so for me, Gummy Bears, it's part of that whole collection of animated Disney.
Yeah.
Because then you start getting into DuckTales, you start getting into Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers, you start getting into Tailspin, Darkwing Duck. All of those. So once I saw Gummy Bears on there, I'm like, oh, thank God, at least I don't have to consider that one.
Yeah.
Pat took care of that for me.
And it was a balanced team. There was the old wise one. There was the one that was always wanting to spoiling for a fight. It was a fun show.
Well, here's something for Dennis, since he didn't get a second honorable mention, just to make him happy about life. All right, that's all you get.
wait a minute. I have a question. Why are they ripping the theme off from the Green Hornet? That sounds like a rip on Flight of the Bumblebee.
Go ahead, Dennis, sing along. You know you want to.
I've been by myself.
And that theme screams 60s. It's got like a go-go sound. Like,
Oh, yeah.
A little monkey in there, man.
Imagine someone doing the
and
mashed potato.
that horn trill.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the 60s Batman.
Yeah.
Da-na-na-na-na.
Yeah.
They gotta shoot a tune, don't they?
There he goes.
Because it is 60s.
Yeah.
All right, moving on.
67 to 68.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get my trumpet bow play along with all these tonight, man. That's fun.
You watch Speed Racer, your kids will love that, man.
I've watched Speed
You
Racer.
should do.
Yeah.
Can you do a concert where you play 80s cartoon themes?
I'm sure it can be done, man.
Yeah, 70s and 80s.
Any
We'll let
any
Dennis.
great,
Dude, I'll videotape.
Oh,
that.
you know what? Honestly, I'll go on tonight.
cameras.
I'm sure someone has written an arrangement of
Oh,
the
sure.
great cartoon themes or something like that.
Oh, there's
yeah.
a medley out there for sure. You can blow through some
All right,
good
my
stuff.
second honorable mention, just to keep this thing moving, because my God.
What have I done?
So much more to get to.
Just like the first and last episode
I thank you all earlier for appreciating my editing. So.
My second honorable mention, another Saturday morning.
Watch out! 'Cause here we come!
and that theme to me screams 80s. You know, you got the and you've got this rising bass. You know, this has been the most fun for me for the episode, just listening to the different time periods of music.
But this is like why I wanted to kind of do it this way without you guys seeing each other's lists, except Bo, who's been looking at my computer for the last hour.
This isn't like it's dirty. I sat next to him. The computer's right there. What do you want me to do?
Well, right there we answered why the themes last 2 minutes. It's because they want to grill it in your head, so you do remember it.
Oh,
and you do, you know.
Right. It was more like I wanted the response from everyone else when you start hearing the theme going, right, I didn't even think about that one, or I remember that one, or thank God you chose that one because I didn't know where to put it on my list.
It's basically Van Halen sped up.
Yeah,
it really is.
Yeah. It's
Alvin and the Chipmunks is another one that I used to collect all the toys. I think, in fact, for my entire list, I think everything was.
Speaking like Alvin and the Chipmunks, that's a phenomenon. I mean, they have a Christmas album or two. They have that's huge stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know that the new movies did all that well. I mean, they did enough to make a couple of them, but that was fun back in the day. That was really good stuff.
All right, so now
this has to be on a few lists.
Now we're on our actual list.
Now we're on to the actual list.
Here we are.
So we're starting with our number 5s. It's only been 17 hours and 52 minutes. So here's John's number 5.
Johnny 5.
Oh, which version is that?
This isn't G1.
No, this isn't. You know what? This may not be the original.
But you meant to.
So I only had passing periods to.
No, that's fine. No, I'm intrigued by the version. I want to see the shows that came out of
3 minutes at a time.
You can only show Princess Bride 3 times without the kids noticing.
Well,
this time I want you to watch for the irony.
It's a different version.
When the whole room can do the iocane powder bit without even thinking, that's when you stop.
Rodents of unusual size? I don't think they exist.
Yeah. So Transformers shows up on a lot of lists in this conversation, I think.
Oh, thank God! I can now finally reference Transformers. I've been avoiding.
Yeah, I know.
That's the one I always point to when I like these. Half of these cartoons were driven so you'd buy all these toys that they came up with.
Absolutely,
right. That's what Transformers was.
Well, I think most of my list is based on toy sales.
Oh, sure. Transformers was a marketing budget for Hasbro.
See, that's probably the difference. Because all we had was a stick.
Right.
Including the 2 honorable mentions. So out of 7, 6 of them I had toys for.
Yeah.
When all of your cartoons, all your toys are just based on like a corn husk, and that's all you have.
That's all we had.
And then when they got to the point where they put hinges on the corn husk so you could transform it into another piece of corn.
Well, all I know is that.
Transformers.
Well, wait. Do I talk about where it falls on my list, or do we wait? Should I keep my mouth shut? Like what's?
You can talk about it.
Oh, yeah, because now, if it's on his
list. So you don't have to
do.
necessarily talk about where it falls on yours, but now that it's out there, you can talk about what you like about the show.
Okay.
And then once we reveal it on the placement on your list, then you can maybe explain why it's there as opposed to...
Like, this is... I remember specific episodes of this. Like, growing up as a kid, this was my jam. And I mean, I'd get like a transfer.
I found the wrong damn intro.
No, it's fine.
No, it's all good.
I want to see the show that came from that intro.
Yeah,
I don't think I've seen that.
But I remember when the Transformers, when that came out.
If you have my email, the link might be in there.
I knew all the names. I watched all the shows. Transformers, the movie, was outstanding.
Oh yeah, I mean, one of the best movies ever.
And we'll still go back, and I'll still watch the old ones, and I'm like, dude, this holds up.
Yeah, that looks right. So that was G1 we were watching, maybe? Interesting. I'm pretty sure this is it. No, that's the same one. No, this is it. This is it. Yeah. There it is.
Yeah. And I only had like 1 or 2 of them. Like,
oh God!
But, I mean,
we
it was,
loved the.
Well, I shouldn't say 1 or 2. I mean, we had a handful, but
I must have had 12 of them. I had one of the big ones, the one that like transformed. He was like their base, but he was also a humongous robot. Like we had that one. We had God.
I had a bunch of them, but I think most of mine were all missing pieces.
Eventually, they were. My brother.
Broken off after a while, and,
my brother. If I've ever complained about him, he's done a few nice things over the years. He bought me as a wedding gift. He found one of the original die-cast metal Optimus Primes.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
So, did you have Autobot City, or did you have Omega Supreme?
That one,
the one that turned into the rocket.
Yeah,
you know, he was one of the guardians of the temple. Yeah, I'd have a couple, but I'd have the guy, and then I'd have to imagine which guy I was playing because But man, and I'll watch these with the kids, and I'll just be like, yeah, I'm hooked. Whereas other ones, it's like, okay, I'm gonna start reading my book now. But this,
how do the kids respond to this? No, they're good.
They love it. Like I showed Dominic, and all of a sudden it became really difficult because the next time birthday came by, I would love the Dinobots, and it was like, okay, can we still find the stinking Dinobots? And it was like on eBay for $683 million. I'm like, sorry, kid, we're gonna not be doing that.
Mm-hmm.
But
it's funny you mentioned the Dinobots. That's one of those things I remember when they introduced the Dinobots.
How cool was that?
Dude.
How cool was that? And you remember the one where the Dinobots were the only ones that worked because they had to go get the special whatever from Cybertron.
Yeah, exactly.
But then the Dinobots went nuts, so they went with Swoop. Swoop, went up there. Oh man.
We were more GoBots.
Okay.
Nice. Which I had on my list and took off my list, but that was
another fun theme song.
That was a weekday morning.
Yeah.
Eating my Pop-Tarts at the kitchen table. Watching
we
GoBots.
We had GoBots toys too. Our GoBots and our Transformers would.
Yeah.
Right.
I had, in terms of toys, I had Transformers and Rock Lords.
Ah, there you go.
Yeah, the
good ones.
Poor man's GoBots.
So into Bo's number 5. That sounds weird.
Johnny 5.
Right into 5.
Yo, Joe! He'll fight for freedom wherever there's trouble. G.I. Joe is there. G.I. Joe, American hero. G.I. Joe is there. It's G.I. Joe against Cobra and Destro, fighting to save the day. He never gives up.
Another marketing engine to bring the.
I'd love to see the guy recording this.
The original.
How he's into it.
Yeah. The original G.I. Joe toys, to bring them to a new generation, they decided, do a TV show. I got it.
Yeah.
But it was good at the time.
I like that they adapted.
That's
all
one
the
that I feel like
vehicles.
doesn't hold up well. The original G.I. Joe, but it definitely. I think somebody said earlier that a lot of the older ones have some racist undertones that maybe wouldn't play well now. I think this one's got a few hiding in there.
Yeah.
In some places.
These two, the last two that we've had on, the G.I. Joe and Transformers, those are the ones that I remember the movies, when the movies came out, and that being the first time characters ever died.
Right.
Like,
Because in the show, nobody died.
You never killed any character. But in Transformers, you had people die. In the G.I. Joe movie, I think I remember some people died.
Yeah, somebody died.
Yeah.
Because the whole thing with what's his name in the Serpent, he killed somebody.
Right.
Like that was the shtick.
Yeah.
Duke, maybe?
He wasn't killed Duke. Duke was like the main guy.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Moving on to Pat's number 5. This is a repeat of an honorable mention, which is going to be happening a lot. Let's go on.
And the masters of the universe.
God's gonna go into the
Yeah.
What's the matter?
Once he starts playing, he goes into his own little world again.
Yeah, He-Man.
Like, you may stop that theme song, it's still going on up there.
I'm actually not recording our episode. I'm just listening to all the music right now. That's why I put the headphones on.
You can press pause.
Yeah, and I think for the sake of time, I'm also going to reveal this one is on my list, except this one shows up all the way at number 2.
Okay.
For me.
Almost cool. And again, you can. I almost think that might be a better way of doing it in the terms of, like, if it comes up on somebody else's list, you talk about that one show there.
You're just saying that because yours.
No,
won't show
I
up on
mean, I
anyone
think I'm
else's
just trying to
list.
picture, like, if we go back to now, then we get down to 2 and it's He-Man again, and we're going to talk about He-Man again when we did. I feel like everybody wants to jump in and when you bring it up and you're excited about it now. So.
Yeah, we can do that going forward.
If that works out. But
if a theme song shows up that you hear that is on your list somewhere, you can talk about where you put it on your list, and then maybe I'll go ahead and play it again real quick or whatever. But yeah, G.I. is that what we're doing? He-Man.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Skeletor was one of the first bad guys I remember actually being scared by for whatever reason.
He was freaky.
Mm-hmm.
Like he was really freaky.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, something about it. And it translated well. We've already talked about the movie on the podcast, but it translated well there. Like, he was a freaky, freaking bad guy.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, some of the cartoon bad guys they're just cheesy.
But you definitely got the sense he wanted to invoke, cause harm.
Yeah.
Like he
He's
really
a
wanted
bad
to hurt
dude.
other people.
Yeah. That's a bad man.
Come back to the age thing of it. I'm just curious though, like, because it's a freaky character, which I agree with you, and I remember it. You know, it wasn't one that we watched regularly, but I definitely remember seeing episodes of it. What was it, 1984? 80? So I'm already 13, 14. You guys are like 83. So I'm 12, 13. You guys are like whatever, 5, 6, 7. You're not. Are you watching these when these started, or were you?
No.
You remember watching them when they were?
No, I was 2.
I watched them I remember watching them.
So
I think my
parents are okay with that. Just
TV.
watch it. That's
I'm
thinking that would be one maybe that G.I. Joe, and that would be ones that
Again, got all the toys down in my parents' basement right now.
And they have no okay.
Yeah.
And you weren't freaked out by Skeletor? Then,
I was scared of Skeletor.
Okay, all right.
I'm like both.
But he didn't always beat him up, so it's fine.
Right.
Okay.
Now, I caught it in reruns. I was way too young to be.
Okay.
There's no way.
So Dennis is number 5 from a bygone era.
Solid choice, though.
Really long intro.
Great show.
Where are our flying briefcase cars?
I
By the
know.
way,
Like, I thought that stuff would be there.
Go ahead and sing along, Dennis.
Nice. God, that guy nailed the crap out of that note.
Right? You want to go back and hear it again?
Yeah, there it is.
It's interesting when they were writing that theme why they didn't go to Jane second and then go to the kids.
What a great tune, though.
It just had to like. I'm just thinking the writing of it. Like when you're thinking like, how do you introduce those characters? Do we go with what order? Is it the rhyming? Is because there's a little bit of rhyme, but then Jane, his wife, is not.
And I'm just gonna say,
is the wife the last one as he's leaving? The last one he kisses goodbye as he goes out the door.
Maybe that's why. Maybe, but see, is that
He's the last one that. She's the last one that he pushes out of the flying car.
right.
Yeah.
The question
Anyway,
that I've always
she's got to steal his wallet.
the question I've always had about that show. Okay, so the kids went to school, so they're busy for the day.
Mm-hmm.
He went to work, so he's busy. He drops her off shopping, and she has no way to get home.
There's space taxis.
Space Uber.
Sure.
Space Uber.
Space Uber, yeah.
He's got the car in his briefcase, which, by the way, the man had a briefcase, but there was nothing in it except the car, so where's the rest of his stuff?
And what's happening on the surface
car.
of the planet that's holding why you see it like once
no.
or twice.
I can tell you what I think's happening.
It's Cloud City.
Yeah.
It's Earth, and we've trashed it.
Yeah.
That's the dirty secret of the Jetsons.
I just want to throw it on to saying all the other themes for the shows, they're fun jingles
It's
and
Wally.
good melodies and all that. That's like a straight up awesome tune. I mean, that's like
it's
cool.
good stuff.
Like there's an actual orchestra recorded. Yeah.
We should get the band to play that one.
Yeah, no kidding, man.
That's what I'm saying. A cartoon show.
Yeah.
You got to do a cartoon medley. So,
You
quick
got
question.
to get someone on that trumpet lick, though.
Quick question though. How does this fit in with 80s?
Because it was still during the 80s.
Okay.
I mean, you're gonna find like all the rest. I think of my
Dennis
list.
has already had to justify himself to Jeff.
The question for this was:
I verified that these did all air during the 80s.
Yes.
They may
I know they did.
They were
may not have started in the 80s.
Oh,
But
okay.
So my point is,
released
if
aired
they
in
didn't
the 80s.
start in then, that was my question to him was, does it like what it was? I mean, if you want me to pull from ones that actually started in the 80s.
I didn't know that was a rule. All my choices are invalid now.
I didn't have to go.
We have to start this whole thing over.
He's gonna have 4 more pages.
Hold on.
Jetsons.
But it was
fun.
You guys keep talking. I gotta make a list.
And I look at it as I know my age. I know when I was watching these, it was 80s, and I'm thinking, were these just reruns? And when I looked into it, I was like, no, these were ones that were still being created. So therefore, I felt that it qualified for an 80s cartoon. And
Goes
that's
shopping.
My number 5.
story and I'm sticking
It takes the whole wallet while he keeps
Yeah.
the one
Yeah,
bill. I mean, it's just.
Healing, Duckburn, race cars, lasers, aeroplanes. It's a duck blur. Might solve a mystery or rewrite history. DuckTales, woo! Every day they're out there making DuckTales, woo!
this was an after-school show. This was not Saturday morning.
No, that was
this was after
3:30. Loved it.
And this was part of the Chippendale Rescue Ranger, Darkwing Duck, that whole block of shows. Gummy Bears was Saturday morning. This one was after school.
Well, that was my question on Jetsons. What do you guys remember Jetsons?
I want to say Jetsons was an after-school thing.
Really?
For me.
For me, it's a very clear, vivid Saturday, Sunday weekend in the morning. I remember weekend morning eating breakfast. Morning. I remember my mom making the orange juice with a vanilla ice cream kind of thing that went around with the eggs and breakfast.
I'm almost thinking it was like an after-school Nickelodeon thing or something.
Yeah, that could be.
Jetsons was clearly a weekend one for me. I don't even think I saw it.
I'm fairly certain it was after. It was part. It may not have been on one of the major channels.
Yeah.
But it was after school.
For me, clearly that's a weekend cartoon, like in my brain.
Have you watched the new DuckTales?
I tried.
Okay.
I wasn't as into the animation.
Okay. No, the animation's a little different, but the kids like it.
The stories are fun.
I like the animation from the original better.
I like the little twist with Beakley. It's kind of fun. A little different way to do a few things.
All right, guys, we've made it to our number 4s.
Number 4.
Woohoo!
And I'm a little bit mad at Johnny because he got to this one before I did. I dropped this one all the way.
This is my...
You're in control.
This is your number 4 as well.
Yeah, I would say this is right around the same place I have it.
This is my number 1. I'm one to get around about it.
Yeah. The redo wasn't as good.
Oh no!
I didn't get a chance to see it.
Oh,
Neither did I.
You didn't like
Pat really likes
I liked it.
Okay.
It just didn't. I don't know. There's something missing. I could never quite put my finger on what was missing.
I felt like hook, line, and sinker in the reboot. I was like, why did you stop after one season? This is really.
I think they went a little too cheeseball with some of the new one. Like a good example when he said Rankin Bass, I was like, oh, that's right. That's the one thing that bugged me. So there was an episode of the reboot that they were doing some sort of magic, and the magic phrase was Rankin Bass.
Oh, okay.
I was like, oh come on!
But what about with Panthro? Remember when Panthro when he's just like, sometimes you have to sacrifice to win. I'm like, oh my god, this is intense. Yeah.
It was decent. It just something about it was missing, and I couldn't quite put my finger on it. And what I wanted a second season. Because I thought they were getting there. They just needed more time.
I read a whole article that reboot in 2011, like helped influence a whole new like group of cartoons like that had a little bit more of a mature, a little bit more of intense storylines, a little bit of the Japanese animation kind of touches getting in there. And
it was fun. I was excited. I think they needed another season to get something right. You know, it takes some time to...
I lied. It was your number 3. It was... Pat's number 4.
I think something I liked about this one.
Oh, because my 4 is I should have remembered that one.
Even as a kid, like the animation on this one, like even
as a kid, was really tight.
I noticed. I was like, this is different from G.I. Joe and He-Man and all these others.
Rankin and
Bass. You want to talk about a creepy character? I was never afraid of Skeletor.
Mumra was
as a kid.
Ugly.
This is the only cartoon that I own the complete DVD collection of.
Oh, right on.
And every now and again, I'll just start at season 1, episode 1. Where they have to leave their planet and so great.
I think part of the reason the animation looks so good is because it was Rankin Bass, because they did the original Lord of the Rings movies. It's that style, and I forget what it's called, but it's a very smooth,
they didn't seem
clean style
to cheap out,
right?
Which is by comparison the new DuckTales. I feel like they've really cheapened out.
Oh yeah, that's
the animation.
Disney called somebody and said, "How cheaply can you put this on screen for us?" Okay, good.
But yeah,
that was 85 that
yeah,
came out.
So I was.
It's fun. I mean, the original run was what, 2 seasons?
I would have been.
The number of seasons 4.
I would have been 7 when Thundercats came out. So I was prime age.
Oh, yeah.
For that show, and
I was. That's why I'm just the age there.
And again, we had the swords, and we had the sword and the thing he had, the glove that looked like a claw, and we had the whole thing.
This was one of the ones that I did not have any of the toys.
I
had friends that had the toys.
I didn't have any of the action figures or anything.
Still do. Again, in my parents' my parents' basement is a treasure trove of my childhood. Like it's
cool.
like there's just the north wall of the basement, shelf after shelf, is just all the toys that my brother and I had. At some point, I need to get those and get them in my own house before my folks just throw it all away.
Yeah, that would be good.
Yeah,
and how do you not love Snarf? I mean, really.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Thundercats. Like I said, I'm a little bit miffed that John got to it first. It should be ranked higher.
Well, you should have put it lower in your list.
No, you should have put it higher on yours. We'll jump to Bo's number 4.
They fly on silver wings. They fight with nerves of steel, partly metal, partly real. They are the Silver Hawks. Born of a time beyond time, they sacrificed their human bodies, modified to withstand the stress of their long journey through space to the galaxy of Limbo, sent there to defend the universe against the terrible Monstar and his intergalactic mob. Yes Man, Buzzsaw, Mumbo Jumbo, Windhammer, Molecular, Poker Face, Hardware, and the musical...
And Molecular, is bubble-shaped, like the molecules you see in science books.
That's
it's just...
Mumbo Jumbo.
And like all good bad guys, he transforms into something even more frightening.
Yeah, I remember Silverhawks.
Oh yeah, I loved this one.
We
had the ship and all the guys, and they like the wings. Their wings were spring loaded, so you'd push the arms down, and then they.
Yeah, I put this in a category with what's the other ones I used to watch, like Cops. Good. They were good cartoons that
the one guy plays a guitar. Like, why? Why does he have a guitar?
Space guitar.
Yeah.
Oh, like the guy in Fury Road.
Right.
Silverhawks.
Yeah. And the intro is still, by the way, going.
This is
almost a 4-minute introduction.
This is a long intro.
It is a beefy one.
Yeah.
Man.
So you got 4 minutes of intro, you got 7 minutes of commercials.
Well, don't
by the
forget,
time the show's over.
A lot of these cartoons were like 2 episodes in each half hour.
Right. So you got a little 5-minute.
So like the episode itself would be like 15, 16 minutes once you get commercials in there.
Yeah.
Which was, I think, good enough for all of our attention spans.
Well, and that's really, it's funny, but that's probably true. And they had cool, they had an eagle that hung out with them, and he was half robotic. We had that toy too. I mean, that was fun. That was one my brother and I both really geeked out on back then.
So, Pat, your number 4 was also Thundercats.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember watching it.
Yeah, it was a fun story, and,
Yeah.
So we'll jump then to Dennis's number 4, and Dennis, this is one I remember watching as well.
Me too.
Hey, hey, hey! It's Fred Albert, and I'm gonna sing a song for you. And this is gonna show you a thing or two. You'll have some fun now with me and all the gang, learning from each other while we do our thing. Gonna have a good time.
It's Bill Cosby coming at you with music and fun, and if you're not careful, you may learn something before it's...
Hey, hey, hey!
So, Dennis, follow-up question for you. It's a little uncomfortable now.
Oh yeah, it's so sad.
for our listeners.
John, what's going on?
John is currently fighting his ability to. I can't even. He is. I'm not sure what he's trying to hold back, but it's good, whatever it is. You know, it's funny. See, all the Bill Cosby stuff aside, there was some. You know, you did learn something from that show.
It was excellent.
It really was.
You put the pill in the martinis.
I knew somebody was going to go there.
It is a shame, though.
It is.
Then you know, every now and again I'll catch an episode of the Cosby Show.
Oh.
And be like, oh God, this show was great, and then like I'll be like,
The show, you know
this
what?
is weird.
The show, I think the show still is. The show still is great. You know,
And
what I
that's
mean?
the thing is, it's hard.
The
to
show is a message.
But the unfortunate thing is, it does get.
And then I kind of saw it.
Then
They saw it. They called it the Cosby Show, and he wasn't even necessarily one of the writers. And correct me if I'm wrong. There were other writers doing this.
Sure there were,
Yeah. So it's kind of like
characters. But yeah, I mean,
you can't. You hate to invalidate a whole show because of one person.
That right there again. If we're talking weekday memory or weekend.
That was for me. That was a weekday.
Clearly weekend. Really?
I want to say Fat Albert.
When were you
was
watching
after
this?
school.
When was it at? After school?
I want to say it was after school.
You see, I want to say Saturday too.
That's a Saturday. That's a Saturday morning, man. Clearly.
I remember
that
it on
Jetsons.
Saturday morning.
Wow. Oh, I totally Saturday. Yeah, definitely Saturday.
Yeah, my weekday memories are.
I know. That's the weird thing is I kind of know what my weekday memories are and what my weekend memories are. It was literally that routine, and that's how consistently and religiously we kind of watched those cartoons throughout those time period. That's why there was no room for any of Dark Star Dragons, Thunder.
Brave
Star.
Thunder Kittens and Brave Heart.
Hey, watch it!
Hey, Brave Star never
We're like,
molested
what is
anybody.
this garbage? No.
Not that you know of.
Well, you know.
So my number 4 was G.I. Joe. Again.
Oh, I did.
In my basement.
I did research. No one died. Duke went into a coma.
Okay.
And the reason they didn't kill him was because of all the backlash from when they killed Optimus Prime.
That was rough, man. That still gets me.
You
That still gets me when I watch
You
that movie.
want to teach kids about death? Watch the Transformers movie.
Mm-hmm.
Or the episode of Sesame Street when Mr. Hooper died and Big Bird had a picture of him that he wanted to give to him. They had to teach Big Bird about death. Holy crap.
Wow.
Yeah, they did a brilliant job.
Jeez,
on
I
Sesame
did
Street.
not see that, but
you should look it up.
Wow.
It's so brilliant the way that they handled that. But yeah, it's real. It is very real.
Wow.
So our number 3s. John is going to lead us off, and this is the only appearance of this show on any list.
It was working its way up my list, but it didn't crack the top 7.
It didn't. No, it didn't.
I loved the show.
Yeah, so did I, but it didn't even.
This is set on the third moon of New Alabama.
This one's cool, no words until there. And that's all they say the whole time. That's why I love it. Simple, satisfying.
Well, they do say go, Gadget, go.
Yeah. But they don't like, the Silverhawks one, they tell you their whole life story in the intro.
I just like when the van turns into the cop car.
Yeah.
It's a little bit more aerodynamic. I like the car.
Right there.
And I remember, what was the girl's name?
Penny.
Penny had the computer book, and I was like, wow, a whole book you can read and listen, and now we got iPads and Chromebooks and all this kind of stuff.
And Penny grows up to be the character on Big Bang Theory.
I think that's the same Penny.
Yeah, I don't think that's a crossover.
In my universe, it is. Yeah, see, if this was done by the Silverhawks people, it would have been like, after a horrific accident.
Right.
Inspector Gadget's body is replaced.
Still be going, by
Right.
the way. Because instead of a minute 12, which is at least, tolerable.
Yeah. No, this one, as I was going through my list, I was like, I was trying to think of, as a kid, what were the cartoons that I had to watch? when it was Saturday morning or after school or whatever it was, what were the ones I had to watch? And I just remember when this was on and I was watching it as a kid, I loved Inspector Gadget. Also loved, and I don't know if I ever picked this up as a kid. I know at some point as a kid I did, but I don't think when I was first watching it, picking up that it was Don Adams doing the voice.
Yeah.
And I loved Get Smart, because we used to watch reruns of Get Smart all the time. My dad loved that show. And so I didn't know that as a kid, but it was like I love how, like, at the end of all the episodes, like, how you never saw Dr. Claw.
Yeah.
I'll get you, Gadget.
Yeah.
The whole thing
You just
every
saw
time.
the cat.
Mm-hmm.
I just had a question that could really throw this whole thing, like, way off the rails. In the movie one, we had favorite movies of the 80s and then favorite movies overall. And an interesting question, because as I'm sitting there watching this, it's like, or listening to some of these ones, or like, Dennis is talking about like Jets and some of these other cartoons that I don't associate with the 80s. Like, sometimes I'm like, I wonder, like, I picked ones that I remember from the 80s in my childhood, but now I'm like, what would my list look like if the 80s thing was removed from it?
Well, I think that might be an interesting topic for question 5.
Yeah, it because, like, I'm sitting there thinking of these and I'm like, well, why didn't I put not Inspector Gadget, but some of these other ones, and it's like, well, yeah, maybe these would, but I just associated them with other time periods, or So, anyways, sorry,
I had a few from the 90s that would have easily made this list, but
yeah.
Oh, if we were allowed to go to the 90s, yeah.
Yeah, that's trouble.
Like, because here's when I'm like in the middle
1
of this,
through
like
5
I'm thinking
is Batman the Animated Series.
Well, I'm just thinking, like, why the heck didn't anyone say Looney Tunes? Well, that came out in the and it was like, took me a second, but I'm just like, man, I think I grew up with Looney Tunes. Like,
just wait till we get to Old Man River over there.
Okay, yeah.
Wow.
Were they still making cartoons in the 80s? See, but I don't. But like now, I want to go back. Were they still making Looney Tunes in the 80s? Yeah. Because that would dang.
Keep it down. Don't make me call the coppers on my rotary phone.
Because, yeah,
whippersnappers.
A bunch of whippersnappers and young punks.
Because I focused on what I thought of as the 80s. But like Looney Tunes would be way the heck up there.
Mm-hmm.
But see, Looney Tunes did spill into this.
So Bo's number 3 was Thundercats. Moving on then to Pat's number 3. And this is the only appearance of this on the list.
No, it's my number 1.
Oh, is it?
Good choice.
Well, had you given me your list enough time to really prepare.
I understand. Hey, I provided themes in case you didn't have
meeting.
I provided themes in case you didn't have them. So,
From days of long ago.
Sounds like John. Wait, play that back.
Regions of the universe.
In a world.
That's John Reed.
Peter
John Reed.
Of Voltron, defender of the universe.
Did you see the reboot of this?
Yeah.
That was fun.
Yeah.
Loved by good.
That and Robotron.
Feared by evil. As Voltron's legend grew, peace settled across the galaxy.
Remember the car Voltron?
I'll buy you lunch, John, if you do a remake of this.
For like 10 minutes before I had to...
Then we got to see which is the right one. See, you do it so good that we
You also watch Transor.
A little. My brother did more than I did.
Oh, love Transor Z.
So Voltron.
Yeah. Dude, like, well, my theme is like with any of these things, like He-Man, I think of the ships they fly around in. Thundercats, I remember the tank. This, big mechanical lions that you fly. I mean, like, how cool was that? And then it assembled into a ginormous robot that you could control. Dude, that's wicked awesome. And then, like, that one episode where there was the car Voltron, which is like, that's awesome. So,
something about the whole origin of it, the mystical stuff in the back is kind of cool, and the fact that they keep the lions, like that it's very elemental, that there's the earth and the water and the fire.
Yeah, that was cool. Each lion had its theme, and all that kind of stuff.
Meanwhile, the theme is still going
right,
on.
like that's this is a little extended version of the theme, but wow.
And Voltron would always fight the lion. It would be going back and forth. Then he'd pull out the sword, or not fighting the lion, fighting the bad guy, and he would just cut the creature in half.
The thing in half, like get the sword out
just
of the
beginning. Done. You could get like 2 or 3 of these things.
Here I am not paying attention when you said, and the theme is still going. I thought, oh my god, Silverhawks is still going.
Well, it probably still is.
Yeah, and Transor Z would have made an honorable mention too. That thing was. Do you remember the one robot that the gal drove around and like where the rockets shot out of, and like now I think of that, and it's like one of those. Why did that fly past the sensors? Like, whoa, like yeah.
Yeah, well,
Yep.
All right, so for Dennis's number 3, we had to do a little research and find the 1980s version of this show.
Well, yeah, because there's been how many?
And it's there. It's there.
Hi, folks.
I know we can all pick it up from the music that we're hearing. This is the Tom and Jerry comedy show.
Oh.
This is why I let Dennis get away with this one. The comedy show started during the 80s. So I let this one slide. And then I felt bad for Old Man River, so I just let him keep his list.
Tom and Jerry.
Good stuff, man. I mean...
Great stuff. Another one that falls in the category of a little bit racist.
Oh, yeah.
There are moments Tom and Jerry's a little bit racist.
My mom would come home. She'd come down. What are you watching? Tom and Jerry? Turn it off. Like straight up.
Too
Like
violent.
Yeah.
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 I mean, man, what would Mama thought of Itchy and Scratchy?
And Droopy.
Droopy was my, and that's the one I brought up, and I said I can
Yeah, there.
The best is when he kisses the girl, man. That's the best one.
My brother and I used to practice our Droopy voices. He's like, read the Taco Bell menu. All right. It's like a big beef burrito supreme.
Oh, dear.
And then eventually I got a girlfriend.
So you're saying
yeah, but you're still doing your droopy voice,
I know.
so, you know.
By the Matooch metric, is
Ooh,
Looney Tunes
I like
technically
this.
an 80s cartoon then?
It is because I felt bad for him.
Okay, so you don't feel bad for me. Please don't feel bad for me because then I got to redo my list. Jeff, don't
So,
feel bad
you
for me.
don't feel
Don't
bad?
let
No,
me.
I don't feel bad. I
Good.
never feel. I punched you during West Side Story. I don't feel bad for you.
Kept me awake though.
Oh, this one's cool.
Number 3. Oh, so this is my revenge on John.
Okay.
John stole my number 1, so I'm going to steal his number 1. I have it at number 3 on my list.
Okay.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Heroes in a half shell. Turtle power. They're the world's most fearsome fighting team.
We're really hip.
They're heroes in the half shell, and they're green.
Hey, get a grip.
When the evil Shredder attacks, these turtle boys don't cut 'em no slack. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Splinter taught them to be ninja teens.
He's a radical rat.
Leonardo leads, Donatello does machines.
That's a fact, Jack.
Raphael is cool but rude.
Give me a break.
Michelangelo is...
All right, TMNT. My number 3. John's number 1. Dennis is still over there with Droopy Dog. It's all right, man. You enjoy that.
That clip's getting played at the end of this thing.
Okay.
You do it. I'm happy.
What'd you like about TMNT?
Everything.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah.
There was, as a kid, that was the one that I was obsessed with the Ninja Turtles as a kid. I had all the toys. I collected the cards and would like obsessively trade my friends anything for the Ninja Turtle cards. I think I had the entire set of the trading cards. I had all the toys. I had the slime. I played the video games every chance I could get.
Did you ever read the comics?
Not until I was a little bit older.
Okay.
Yeah.
The comics had a little bit of a darker overtone to
and
it.
apparently as the Ninja Turtles seasons went on, they did that with like the last 2 seasons because I guess it went from 87 to about 96.
Oh,
yeah, it ran for a long time.
And the last 2 seasons, I guess it took a little bit of like a darker turn. It was a little bit more of like a, I don't want to say like a Batman the Animated Series, but it had more, it changed from more of like a comedy to more of like a drama.
The tone
type
shifted.
thing. Yeah.
Can't wait for that movie, I'm just saying.
And that was another one. That was another one where it was just like with Masters of the Universe. I was obsessed with the Ninja Turtles. I had everything Ninja Turtles, and then they announced the movie. And I went absolutely nuts just with the idea that you could take a cartoon and make it into a movie.
That's cool.
One of my favorite cold opens in a movie ever is the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movie. 122 and an ape?
122.
122 and an ape.
Wise
Down
man
here,
said,
pal.
never pay for late pizza.
You're going to LaGuardia here, right? It's like Big Turtle, the French coat. Okay, favorite turtle?
Michelangelo.
Michelangelo.
Leonardo.
Droopy Dog.
I don't have a favorite. I missed that. I knew of these things. We just weren't. I think,
Well, I mean, this came out like 87,
and I think
yeah.
it, well, no,
you would have been much older. Though.
And I think it's because like we were out this time period. I think back from probably 11 through 20 something. Baseball.
Mm-hmm.
It was just baseball. The weekends after school, you ran out to run a baseball.
No baseball cartoons.
It was, but that was the thing. So we would catch sometimes some things at night, but we just never dove in anything anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is totally a time period where I totally understand, because I had some friends and they were always younger, who like family friends and stuff like that, and those kids were just dressed up as all these characters, and they would love the Teenage Mutant.
Mm-hmm.
Like that would have been you guys.
And
I think of it,
and it's funny because
interesting.
I remember aging out of this one. I think probably because it just went into the '90s. But it's like I saw it, and then I remember getting the comics and just falling head over with the comics and the movie. And then I'd occasionally watch the show, but I don't remember plot lines or anything.
And for me, most of these I will remember. I remember them, especially I look over and I remember that. But it was such a casual viewing. It was like maybe I'm sitting down, I watch an episode of something, but I'm like, okay, I'm not going to religiously come back and watch this. So I would catch things that that wasn't bad, that was good, or that was entertaining.
This is
I liked it. I get it, but
this is one of the few cartoons I would actually pop in a video cassette, and when it came on, I'd record every episode I could possibly find.
This was in my head anyway. This is an afternoon one, and. Part of it being an afternoon.
I want to say yes.
Part of it being an afternoon is one of the reasons I aged out of it because I got a job. Before my brother did, so he would come home from school and he kept watching. Well, I went to work, so
I was all over this one.
Michelangelo, like
and you,
Raphael.
It doesn't surprise me.
Like all the versions of him, like the new,
I was a Leonardo guy.
Yeah,
but.
Well, and again, it's cool. It was
Raphael's
balanced over all the different.
Tom and Jerry.
Droopy.
Droopy.
The just all the promotions they would do. The coming out of their shell tour. The cassette tape you could get at Pizza Hut.
I had all those,
which I think I wore out.
I had all those. I lost all those. But somebody listening to our show sent me a copy of all of them. An MP3 copy.
Casey Jones, man.
If you'd like to share,
I will share. It was the
Out
Out of the Shell tour, all of the soundtracks.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Who is the babe? Who are you? Wayne Gretzky on steroids? Oh, that movie was a great.
The first movie that came out was
fantastic.
Awesome.
That's next year.
And then they came out with Secret of the Ooze.
Yeah, I think so. Well, what are you doing?
Oh,
with Ninja Rap.
I love that one.
Go Ninja, go Ninja.
Go Ninja, go
yeah,
Ninja,
that was
go.
bad. That was a dark moment.
Yeah.
Then
Vanilla Ice, Rocksteady, Bebop, all make an appearance.
Then he's gonna go and he's just like, oh boy, leftovers, and he drives the truck into. That's a good movie.
Do you like?
Yeah.
No, it wasn't Rocksteady and Bebop. It was a wolf and a turtle.
I thought it was Rocksteady and Bebop.
No, they were channeling them, but
No.
only.
There's two different animals.
Only
I don't remember
gently.
what they were called, but
They used them, and it was what it is.
I forget what their names were, but yeah, that movie's next year. The first Ninja Turtles.
Oh, great!
Right on.
Awesome.
Nice.
All right, so that was my number 3. So number 2's.
I call him
John's was He-Man. Bo's is Transformers. Then we're going to get to Pat, and Pat has one that this is the only appearance on any list for this little cartoon.
That's a number 2.
Oh yeah.
Oh
yeah. Weekend? Yes.
I think
Weekend.
yeah.
Remember Weekend? Watch this fairly.
Well, this was the real Ghostbusters.
Real Ghostbusters, yeah.
Because there was another Ghostbusters cartoon that was
right.
crap on crap.
Yeah.
So
I think I watched both of them.
I remember watching both of them. And
I always thought it was clever that even as a kid I realized they called this one the real Ghostbusters.
The real Ghostbusters, yeah.
Well done.
And I'm just gonna say, like, my top 2 separate from the crowd. Like, when you said you got to make a list of 5, I was like, that's easy. Bam, 1, 2. Because I loved the movie The Ghostbusters. I probably saw it way too young, but it was, loved the movie The Ghostbusters. So when this thing came out, I was just like, Dude, that is the greatest thing ever. And it's the stories they had in there. And I mean, you talk about getting freaked out by a cartoon. Some of those ghosts in that cartoon, that was straight up scary. And the coolest one is when they told the story. It was like what Ghostbusters 2, the movie, should have been, kind of thing.
Yeah.
They went back and they had the ectoplasm had the like it possessed their old suits that were covered with the marshmallow, and they had to fight each other. That was so cool. Remember when Slimer went into the containment unit and he had to go? Do you remember that one?
Oh yeah.
He went into the containment unit and he had to go, and they found all the old ghosts. Dude, that was so cool.
So that one was from 1986.
Yeah.
So that makes sense that you're older at that point. And I remember seeing and that was one that we did sit down to watch. So when I think of a newer cartoon that we were like, okay, we did watch that. For whatever reason, just didn't make my list because I don't remember it as much. But I mean, I do remember watching that fairly regularly, and that makes sense because we're older. The scary part I do remember being sometimes a little bit more creepy. So it had more cred with you know,
and the stories were kind of
like, oh, it's not like some stupid little
Well, and I mean, the movie was still pretty fresh.
Yes, and you're coming off that. Yeah.
And I dug Ghostbusters. I mean, I loved it. I mean, I wore the vacuum on my back for the proton pack and everything like that. I mean, it was
kind of like the guys do here when they're cleaning.
Yeah.
And voices for that, was it all just totally different? It was different voices, right, for everybody?
It was different voices, but they found a way to
get it close to, because I remember thinking his Dave Collier was Venkman, Peter Venkman.
Yeah, Venkman was always just kind of like just not impressed. Like he was laid back with everything. I don't think Ray had the excitement like this is great, but he was definitely the more animated guy. Egon was more the straight,
Egon was Maurice LaMarche.
Yes.
Ray was Frank Welker.
I wonder if we can get Maurice
Arsenio
LaMarche
Hall
to
was Winston.
come on our show.
Yep. And Dan Aykroyd, which is weird because Dan Aykroyd was studio boss in there, but he could have just played his role.
All right, so going on to Dennis's number 2.
I call him number 2.
Who does number 2 work for?
You tell him who's boss.
That's not the 80s version, though, is it?
It's the only one I could find.
Okay, yeah, because it's not that. It's not the 80s.
Yeah, I was just saying, I don't recognize this one, and I watched, some.
I watched the real Hulk. Like with Lou
Bixby and Lou Ferrigno. Bruce Bixby, no, Bill Bixby.
Yeah.
Bill Bixby,
Lou
Lou Ferrigno.
Yeah.
And so we watched that, and then there was also
Oh wait.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's a different.
There was one from 82 to 83.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, that
there
was
we go.
familiar.
That's it.
The music's got that dramatic like.
It's just shaking.
Yeah.
The whole one.
My other question would be, do you think you watch more cartoons or real, like live shows? It'd be interesting to a balance, or if it sways one way or the other. I'd be curious.
As a kid?
I think as a kid, it was more cartoons for sure.
But we do watch, we watch a lot of Alf and Family Ties and
a lot
of other stuff. So.
I mean, I remember watching cartoons, but I think I remember,
Yeah.
What's going on over there?
That's the older version.
My number 2 was He-Man.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
So then swinging around now to our number 1s. We have all repeats except for Dennis.
As usual.
As usual.
I want to guess it. We should guess it.
What Dennis is?
So, well, John's number 1 is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
Bo's number 1 is Voltron.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Pat went with Transformers.
Yeah.
I went with Thundercats. And then there's Dennis.
That's Mr. Matooch to you.
No, it's Dennis.
Speak to your
I want to guess. I want to guess it.
No.
No.
It has been mentioned today.
Right, but on a list?
No.
No, in conversation.
Punky Brewster.
Yes, Punky Brewster.
How come? Okay. What? Let's see. Why do you get to pick? I didn't know that was an 80s movie. Who said that was legal? Oh, for crying out loud!
You asked us not to give you special dispensation.
I don't want special dispensation. Don't let me out of this room no matter what I say. Good choice. That's awesome. That's timeless.
Pat is beside himself.
It did air during the 80s, so
Yes,
I did let that one slide.
But I don't want to. That's yeah.
There, I thought it was going to be the Snorks.
I thought Gem and the Holograms.
Yeah.
And I'm just gonna throw out the music thing again.
Ewoks.
Have you ever listened to the there's albums. There's albums of music that was used for Looney Tunes. Have you ever listened to it? It's crazy because, and they say it like the people that write it and the people that play it, because you'll be going along and then the cartoon changes and the musical change, that you'll be maybe playing a sedate waltz and then all of a sudden right into a march for 8 measures and then all of a sudden bam into something like the music is almost spastic. I mean, it's great music and the musicians say it's really challenging because it's just like you're doing something, then you're doing something else, and now some. Good choice with Looney Tunes.
So what was it about Looney Tunes, Dennis, that dropped it at number one for you?
Variety of all the, just the variety of all the characters and just the theme is classic. Probably the most memorable.
It was.
I think
it was Bugs Bunny in the Valkyrie outfit.
I think if you play that to kids nowadays, even kids nowadays will get that.
Oh, yeah.
I think you play most of the ones we've talked about. Kids today, a lot of them will not get the theme.
Yeah, the kids today, I don't think so.
No.
You don't
think Looney Tunes?
Try playing it in your class and see what happens.
Okay, I'm gonna do that tomorrow.
For real,
I will. Do it to your sixth graders might be hard. I think some might. I don't know.
Do you say get it like recognize?
If I press play on that and I say what's this from?
You know what?
I'm thinking some kids will.
I'm going to try with all three grade
Yeah,
levels.
Be curious.
And we'll see if any of them can.
The reason that I think that might still be alive is because of things like Six Flags.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But is that music played at Six Flags?
Yes.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Over and over again. You have not been to Six Flags.
No, it's been at least probably maybe 20 years.
Oh
since
God,
I've been to
yes.
Six Flags.
Yeah. It's.
See, I don't think my kids would know it. I don't think they know it because we don't go to Six Flags.
My son doesn't know it.
And we've
watched. They used to have the Disney
we watched
show,
a little bit of Looney Tunes, but not.
They used to have a
enough for
Looney
them to
Tunes
remember
show with all the characters running around and all that stuff at Six Flags. So I think they were more popularized.
They've seen Space Jam, but
it wouldn't be because of the cartoon. The theme.
Yeah, you might get a lot of kids who'll say,
Oh,
Six Flags, Great America,
because
they
Bugs
do
Bunny,
beat you over the head with that there.
Bugs Bunny and everything else like that. But yeah,
Was the Tasmanian Devil part of Looney Tunes?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
now
We could probably do a whole episode on
Now,
our favorite
my
Looney Tunes
my
episodes.
kids can recite Rabbit Season, Duck Season, but I don't know if they know that music.
Because Rabbit Season, Duck Season is
Right.
brilliant.
Okay, so just this should be pretty fast here, but
Hold still, I gotta do some figuring.
I have the pictures.
Okay.
I mean, Pepé Le Pew. You had Marvin the Martian. I mean, I remember Granny.
Marvin's my guy.
Yosemite Sam, Speedy Gonzalez,
Sylvester and Tweety.
Yeah.
Speedy Gonzalez. Porky Pig, Tweety,
Roadrunner and Wile E. Coyote.
I mean,
That's right.
the variety.
Pepé Le Pew was the
Sylvester.
one that was always trying to seduce the cat.
Oh,
Right.
And,
Yeah.
The cat would somehow get a white stripe down her back.
Yeah.
Hashtag Me Pew.
Charlie Dog. There was also with the what was the rooster?
Foghorn.
I said, boy,
Yeah.
you ain't right.
Sometimes I accidentally mix him and Hank Hill.
Well,
Now,
it's easy to do.
There's a concept.
was Woody Woodpecker a?
Woody Woodpecker's also, I
Yeah.
believe. Yes.
Oh man.
No.
No, wait, no. He is.
He had a
Walter
separate
Lance.
Yeah, he's not Looney Tunes.
Okay, he's not.
Yeah, no, he's a different grouping.
Who were some of his guys?
Was that guy?
Wait a minute. Hang on. Rocky and Bullwinkle. Did that get made in the 80s?
That's
No.
Good. Okay, that was. But I mean, did they make it? Because otherwise, I got to completely redo my list. Natasha.
Or Bull. Yeah.
So I
Natasha
think
and,
just
Morris.
the memorable
Morris,
characters
Natasha,
of Looney
yeah.
Tunes, the theme. I mean, that's just
Yeah.
you could. It was nice because you could get the variety and you didn't know what was going to happen.
Woody
which one
Woodpecker
gonna be
was
in.
Walter Lance.
Okay.
Chilly Willy. Andy Panda, Oswald the Lucky Rabbit.
Sorry.
Wow. You just went down that rabbit all by yourself, didn't you?
We lost John for a second.
It's all right.
Well, gentlemen, this has been a fun
So I'm just
conversation.
playing the clip.
Go ahead.
I'm playing the clip because we found it. But
This is Droopy Dog?
This is Droopy, yeah. And this is just, I think, again, you have to think of the age of, like I'm approaching this, and I was looking forward to this moment in my life at some point. I still am.
This is the first kiss?
This is the kiss. How do I get rid of that thing on top? So here we go.
You know what? I'm happy.
That's outstanding.
Like I was like, someday.
All right.
Someday I'm going to bash my head on a
Well, the
pole.
thing is, because the character is just like this, so when you see him just take off and just go nuts, like that is just the best. I mean, that's just classic. I love the table. Boom, his head against the wall.
Gentlemen, I hate to say it, but I gotta go to work.
Alrighty.
We'll see y'all later.
Have we been here that long? Is it morning already?
It is.
Yeah.
It is. Bo, good luck with the last couple of days.
Thank you.
Guys, we'll see you.
Yep.
We'll see you tomorrow.
See you.
Awesome podcast idea. This was outstanding.
Yeah, guys, this was a lot of fun.
And I mean, I know you guys are going to keep going. I don't want to derail it, but I really look forward to hearing like the thoughts on the 5 questions. And I loved hearing everyone's number ones and even just how they ranked them, and like why is it 5 as opposed to 1 or where and yeah, it's good stuff, man.
It was my understanding there would be no math during the podcast.
There would be no math. That's right. All right. I love you all. We'll see y'all later.
Peace.
Well, I think my reasoning for Thundercats at number 1 was probably because I remember when it first started and I caught it first airing episode 1.
So you were like other ones existed prior, and you caught on as they were there, and maybe
think
that was
so.
new. And I think that's a big part.
I think
that's
so,
a big part.
but Thundercats, I remember starting at the beginning. So that's why that one definitely is in my number 1 spot.
Yeah.
But should we jump to our 5 questions so we can get out of here by July 4th?
Do it.
He asks each traveler 5 questions.
It's impossible to answer.
Impossible because you don't know the answer.
Nobody could answer that question.
You've got to ask yourself one question.
What are you asking me for? I don't know.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
All right, here we go. 5 questions. Question number 1. Given how many cartoons from our youth, sorry, Dennis, are coming back, Muppet Babies, DuckTales, Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers, in movie form, which cartoon do you hope makes a resurgence? I'm sure John's going to say all of them.
No, I'd be fine with that. Well, the ones I wrote down, I know they've already done remakes of these. I put down He-Man or Thundercats. Because I didn't catch was it 2011?
Yeah.
When they did a new Thundercats. I didn't catch that one, so I haven't seen it.
I think it's on Netflix.
Is it on there?
I believe so.
I don't know.
Okay.
See what I can find out.
But those would be ones that... I haven't seen that one, but I have seen... They did a He-Man remake around the same time. Maybe like 2010, somewhere around there. And I watched a few episodes of that, and actually that was pretty good. Like, I like that one, and I want to go back and I want to catch more of it. But I think of the ones that I thought of for my list, I was trying to think of which ones could you redo and they're still fairly relevant, or they could still be fairly relevant today. And there are already so many that, like DuckTales, they're redoing, and Chip and Dale, they're redoing, and Alvin and the Chipmunks, they made the movies of. And I was just trying to think of what is something that I don't feel like I've seen in a while. So I'd say either He-Man or Thundercats. But I want to go back and see the
I was wrong. They're
new
not on
Thundercats.
Netflix.
I didn't think so.
Okay.
You probably found them on YouTube.
Yeah.
It was okay. I mean, it's a bummer they only got 1 season. I think they could have had a little more fun with it. The first episode is
The
almost
concept art looks
yeah
brilliant.
The first episode is almost shot for shot the first episode of the original, and then they sort of veer off from there.
Okay.
Yeah. Because other ones, I mean, I could have gone like Dino Riders, Mask, Visionaries, like any of the. There's a whole bunch of them that I could have listed out, but I kind of feel like the
Visionaries.
I
Holy
love that
crap!
Yeah, I do either He-Man or Thundercats.
Dennis?
It's tough because I don't know if I mean, I'm trying to picture. Do I really want to see those remade? Because you're so tied to the nostalgia. I mean, I might. Honestly,
then you could
wait. Jetsons.
You can wait until question 2 if you want.
Maybe Jetsons. I think Jetsons might have the most possibility of seeing it into a like if it was a new futuristic world still of. That might be pretty interesting to see it. New Jetsons.
There you go.
Actually, Ghostbusters wouldn't be a bad one either. And especially if they wanted to take the all-female cast and do that as an animated series, I'd be fine with that.
Why you got to pigeonhole them into animation? Why can't they have a big box office
I'm
run?
not.
Here we go.
I'm not holding anybody's pigeon.
You know?
Okay.
You wonder why we're still here.
I'm happy.
You know what?
You know
I'm
what?
happy.
You all can go. You all can go smurf yourselves.
This is easier for me because they've already done. Like I wanted a new Voltron and I got one and it was pretty good. It could have lasted longer. The other one I'd like to see would be a. I'd like to see, and I hate to use good as my qualifier here. I would like to see a better redone Transformers, maybe more in the original design. Style's the wrong word. They've redone Transformers a bunch, but they were animals in a primordial Earth that was just weird. It wasn't.
You're talking about Beast Wars?
Yeah.
Oh, I love that one.
It was okay, but it wasn't Transformers. It was just different enough that it bugged me, you know?
Yeah.
And then the movies, the Michael Bay movies, just sort of. I want to see a Transformer that actually you could see the vehicle they are become the robot, sort of, you know, without spinning around and doing all sorts of weird, quirky things. So I guess if I had to say one that I'd like to see again, it would be Transformers, but more classically redone than what they've done with it. Because I haven't been a huge fan of some of the newer stuff.
I think I'd like to see a Thundercats movie.
Yeah, that'd be
a
good.
quote-unquote live-action movie. I think, you know, given how many other 80s nostalgic properties have gotten movies, I would really love to see a Thundercats movie. In terms of redoing as a TV show, I never saw the 2011 Thundercats series, so I wouldn't mind seeing that. G.I. Joe, I think. Although, you know, I started thinking G.I. Joe would be really cool to redo, but is there a place for that?
Yeah, I don't know if that's how it's...
Yeah, they tried, and
I just don't. Yeah, I just the more I think
Where does
about
it take place? What is, what's the setting?
The more I think about it, I don't know if there's a home for G.I. Joe in 2019. At least as an animated series, they did a couple of movies. First movie was fun. Second movie was a little bit not G.I. Joe. It was an action movie under the name G.I. Joe, but it wasn't G.I. Joe. Question 2. Is it worth the time and effort to try to reboot some of these classic cartoons, or do you just disagree with that idea?
In general, especially because the ones I have, I mean, there's the nostalgia tied to it. I just don't see them getting redone, and I don't know. They're going to be done in a different modern style that takes away from the charm of the old ones for me. So I'm not just, I don't know. I'm not really. I'm content with watching reruns from back then.
I think the reboot in general, you have to decide what you're trying to do. Are you trying to tell a new story with an old character? What are you trying to recapture? Are you trying to recapture the character? Are you trying to recapture the themes? Like, what is the goal of this? And I was really reticent, and this isn't cartoon-based, but I think I'll use them both as an example. I was not all that excited about a reboot of Hawaii Five-0, MacGyver, and Magnum P.I.
Yep.
I've kind of enjoyed Hawaii Five-0.
Hawaii Five-0 was good.
I've enjoyed MacGyver, Magnum P.I. a little less. And I think the reasons are Hawaii Five-0 didn't reboot a character. They rebooted a theme. They said
a theme,
the 5-0 Squad, yeah, it's his kid, but that gives you the through line that you need to connect it. But then it was just a police procedural set in Hawaii, for Christ's sake, and it's beautiful, and they went with it, and it was great, but that's because they didn't try to force it. One of the problems, I think, with Magnum is it was all about the character.
You think, well, my thing is, like, I think of Hawaii 5-0, and while I remember those main characters back then to a degree, I don't remember those characters to such a degree as you do Tom Selleck.
Right.
Like, Tom Selleck's Magnum PI.
Right.
And somebody else's
The only
no.
payoff that can come from this new Magnum PI is if when they reveal Robin Masters, it's played by Tom Selleck.
Mm-hmm.
Then it's fun.
The same thing with MacGyver, too. I think those two characters
Yeah.
are iconic and
I've
true to it that you
enjoyed
can't...
what they've done with him on MacGyver.
What have they done in the new one? I don't know. I haven't watched any of them. Is it supposed to be still just MacGyver? Or is it a
No,
relative
he's
of
got
MacGyver?
no, it's Angus MacGyver still.
It's still him.
But it's you know, he's played as he was a EOD bomb tech.
Okay.
And now they took the character in a different direction.
Okay.
Where I feel like the Magnum one is so trying to be stock Magnum. You know, he's still a
can't,
SEAL, and he still has all the, you know, it's all the same. And it just didn't go as well. But admittedly, the MacGyver one might be easier for me because I didn't really get deep into the original. I'd seen a few episodes, and I enjoyed it, but I never really watched. I don't think I've seen every episode of the original.
So based on that, it sounds like if it's a storyline that they're going to do, you feel like there's a better chance for it. Or
if you're rebooting a
but if you're trying to go for the character itself, that's a very big risk.
Especially if it's a character
that everyone loves.
Right, the nostalgia of the character is really hard to recapture. But the themes and the
and it can be done because I think of Sherlock.
So iconic.
Right.
Well, but I think of Sherlock.
Right.
There used to be the old Sherlock Holmes that my dad and we watched, and I knew that. And you know, now you have a new Sherlock, and you went through Robert Downey, but I'm like, in the movies, but you know, Benedict Cumberbatch. I mean, it's been
fantastic.
Fantastic, yeah.
But
that's rare.
But I think where they win, and this is why one of the reasons I love British TV is the seasons are short, they're quick, they're not trying to do
too much.
24 episodes. Yeah. It's 24 episodes of
the episodes are longer, but they're
that's fine. It gives you more. You can sink your teeth into some material. You're not trying to get out in 42 minutes and 30 seconds, which could be
come
hard
up with a whole
sometimes.
new other idea. That idea can last longer and can develop.
I get really defensive when classic things start getting messed with. It really bugs me because I just think that means there's a lack of originality.
Yeah.
And most of the time it doesn't work. I mean, you look at something as bad as the sequel to A Christmas Story. That came out a handful of years ago, and what a pile of crap that was.
Yeah.
You know, so anytime there's always talk of, we're going to reboot this and we're going to reinvigorate this, you're like, I don't know, I mean, you know, there was talk of doing, at one point, doing an It's a Wonderful Life sequel. And then there was a talk of doing a Casablanca sequel.
I feel like there almost should be like a thing of like, the only reason I want to see a reboot is when there's a movie that was there that wasn't such a classic, wasn't such a big hit, but man, they would have done this. They had
just
potential.
a little potential to latch onto.
And if somebody takes this, but when you've got a movie
when they
that
take the
like,
classics, that there's a reason they're the classics. Or a cartoon,
yeah.
There's a reason it's a classic cartoon. Don't mess with it.
Yeah.
You're not going to do it better because essentially that's what reboot is, saying I can do this, but I can do it better.
It's a wonderfuler life.
It's a wonderfuler life.
Yeah, and then the only
there's
Casablanca.
I mean,
Christmas story Christmas year story.
Yeah, there you go.
Probably along with
Boxing
you.
Day
With,
story.
I think I'm along with you with the. I get defensive a little bit about that too because I even think there's two motivations. One, like, I guess there could be three, but to do something better, which is sort of an insult to the classic. That the classic's already that good. You can't do that better. Okay, it is a classic for a reason. The other one is if you know that you can't do better, then you're just trying to make money off of it, off somebody else's original idea or somebody else's original work. Now you're just trying to, let's see the updated version. Like I Mary Poppins, saw it, love the old one still. I mean, was this one okay? It's okay. It wasn't great.
I haven't seen it yet.
It was
all right.
all right, but it wasn't.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I liked it.
so it didn't need to be made. Is my point.
Right.
You know. Where I would rather have seen something like that's why I like something like Nanny McPhee, which was different than Mary Poppins, but similar storyline and theme. But you weren't trying to be Mary Poppins; you were being Nanny McPhee,
and you weren't
character.
You weren't either
tone.
forcing yourself into these predefined parameters, or breaking those parameters and pissing people off because you did that.
So I think it's fine waters to tread with reboots of those type of things.
Yeah, you gotta be careful.
My philosophy is if I don't same on movie. I mean, I guess I'm a little bit more lenient on the cartoon stuff. Is you reboot it all you want. If I don't want to see it, I'm not going to watch it. Like some of the reboots that did, like the Ninja Turtles. Like we were saying, I loved the Ninja Turtles cartoon in the '80s. Have I watched any of the other Ninja Turtle cartoons that have existed and any of the movies that existed after Secret of the Ooze in the early '90s? Nope.
I always think,
like,
what if
I don't care that they. I mean, you keep making them as long as you want to.
What if they wanted to make a reboot of Star Wars, the original?
That's fine.
Like just new character. I mean, the characters are all the same. They're just going to do a re-updated version.
That's fine.
I kind of did already.
Well, yeah, there you go.
Bad example.
Yeah, bad example. Like Willy Wonka. I think Willy Wonka.
Right.
That was
hated the new one.
Not good.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, that was weird.
Yeah.
I'm not. I guess I'm not anti-reboot. If I don't like it, I'm just not going to give it my time or my attention or money. And if people want to remake it, that's totally fine. And yeah.
Is it to keep the industry churning? Do we require these remakes? Is there not enough original thought out there?
That's what it seems.
I think that's true. I think that's it.
And I know I've said this on the podcast before, and I'll say it again. On my DVD of Rebel Without a Cause, one of the bonus features is James Dean doing a backlot tour of the movie studio. And he goes into the writer's room, and you got like 50 people, each sitting at a typewriter, churning out story after story after story. Mm-hmm. That's awesome. Mm-hmm. That's what I wish was still happening in Hollywood. People getting original ideas, putting them down on paper, seeing how you can develop it and turn it into something a lot more tangible. I don't get a sense that that happens because you're looking at things like the new Ghostbusters or Ocean's 8. You know, like I get what you're trying to do. You're trying to say women can do it too, but why not do it with your own original idea?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess that. But the other side of that too is people who write like fan fiction, or when we were kids and we play with our toys, we'd make up other stories.
Mm-hmm.
I almost kind of see that as, well, okay, so somebody else said, I have all these stories I've made up. I love Ghostbusters. I'm just going to use that as an example. I love Ghostbusters. That's my favorite thing in the whole world. So now that I'm older, now that I'm a movie writer, and I have my chance to write something, I want to write a new adventure for my favorite characters. So on that side of it, I'm like, that's fine. Do your reboots, do whatever. And again, if it's not for me, I won't interact with it. But I don't have a problem with people coming back to properties that already exist. Sometimes I do, if it's overdone, or if it feels like it's just a rehashing of the same story. If they took I'm thinking of the He-Man cartoon reboot that they did just a few years ago. If they took that and did the exact same stories they had done in the 80s He-Man cartoon, then I'd have a problem. If it was just like updated animation, maybe a little more violent, different music, that kind of stuff. But it was, when they went back and did this, I remember the first episode was more of an origin story that you never got about He-Man. And you find out the origin of Skeletor and things like that. I was like, that's actually pretty cool. Like, I'm okay with that. So I almost picture it as like a fan fiction thing, or like a kid playing with their toys, is you've now been given an opportunity. If somebody came to me and they said, hey, we're going to let you write a Hollywood movie script. What do you want to do? First few things out of my head would be like, oh my God, I've got like some great Star Wars stories I'd like to tell. I've got a great Superman story I've never seen on the screen. I'd love to do that. And not to say I couldn't do my own original stuff too, but I do, working within those genres, I have some ideas for
I look at stuff like Magnificent Seven, right? That was a great movie, the '60s version. Great film. One of my favorite films.
Great cast. Great.
That they did the remake 5 years ago or whatever.
It was okay.
It was all right. It was unnecessary.
Right.
One of the things I like about the '60s film is that it took Seven Samurai and it flipped it around, because we're no longer talking about samurai. We're talking about, well, let's put it in a different setting, different idea, different concept. When you take the same concept and you try to redo the same concept for whatever purpose, I just don't think it's worth it.
Now, I haven't seen, you mentioned Ocean's 8, and I haven't seen it
I saw part of it, and I was like, all right, I get what they're doing.
If it's not called Ocean's 8, and she's not Danny Ocean's sister, and it's just a heist movie with 8 chicks, is it still as bad?
I don't think it was bad. Just,
Well, I guess what I'm trying to figure out is the problem that they forced you into that thinking.
I think for
where
me,
if they just made a heist movie,
I think
with a bunch of women, everything's fine.
I think for me, it was trying to force the gender equality thing.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that makes sense.
That took me out of the film.
Sure. Because I like heist movies.
Yeah, absolutely.
So part of me is like, and then the question is on the Hollywood side, why? So you want to make a heist movie? Great, let's make a heist movie. What marketing, what research is forcing you into saying, well, if we're going to make a heist movie, I have a gimmick that'll...
It has to be part of this franchise.
Right. That's the, or is it just, the people who made it are like...
As they run like a business, they're going to go with, well, what's going to help us maximize the most amount of money?
Sure.
Sure, we could do this no-name heist
do a heist movie.
But if we do a heist movie and attach that name to it...
To me, I don't think that was the line of thinking there.
Oh, I'm not saying it necessarily was, but...
Yeah, and I think where is that thought process? I don't know.
Yeah.
No one's asked me about producing a movie.
All right, question 3. Moving on.
I was thinking True Grit. I would think there's a few westerns, True Grit and 310 Yuma, I think, are two that
Now, True Grit, I thought,
was better than the original.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
I would say so.
But when I think back to the original True Grit, I don't know if I think of that as classic like I do Magnificent Seven. So therefore, it follows our rule of. I'm not saying it's not bad, but I'm saying it's not like the first thing I think of when I think of the older westerns. I don't go right to True Grit. I go to Magnificent Seven. We'll say that way before that. So to me, it follows the rule of those are classics that you're like, man, that movie's darn near perfect.
Don't mess with
it. Why? Don't mess with it. Something like True Grit back then, good movie. But man, could be better than it is. See that? So I think if you follow that general rule of that, don't mess with something that's considered a classic and that you go, wow, that thing's like darn near perfect and flawless.
Yeah.
Birds, like why would you mess with Birds? Making a remake for Birds.
Yeah.
You can't. You just can't.
Well, it's like when they sequelized Psycho and sequelized Jaws.
Yeah.
What
I still go back to the original Psycho.
What are you getting out of
Vince Vaughn, Psycho? Like why?
After we're going to need a bigger boat, really, what else is there?
Yeah. Yep.
A biggerist boat.
Jaws 3D.
Yes.
The movie that taught us that sharks roar underwater. But whatever.
Go,
Question 3.
Way to go.
Is there a cartoon that you hope never gets rebooted because you love the original that much? If you think of either on your list, another one that we didn't talk about, is there one that you think of and go, they better not try to mess with that one? That one,
Kid Video. No, I don't.
It's funny you say that. I think it depends on how you define a reboot, but I would not want to see like super updated Bugs Bunny and
I
Elmer
wouldn't either.
Fudd.
I was almost gonna go right to that. Like the
that would be
Looney Tunes.
weird,
Yeah.
right?
Looney Tunes, I wouldn't want to see.
Weird.
It would be extreme. Yeah, very weird.
Yeah, I haven't liked some of the newer Scooby-Doo that I've seen. It just seems... Something about it just seems...
Well, if there's a great example of something that is totally the product of its time, I mean, can you really get away with the completely backhanded references to being high anymore that you could back then? I mean, come on!
Yeah.
For those of you that didn't know, go back and rewatch Scooby-Doo again. Come back and talk to me.
Have some Scooby snacks.
Right, like... talk about some. How do you reboot that? Like, just don't touch it.
Mm-hmm.
But
I can't think of anything in particular that I'd look at and say.
I think Looney Tunes.
Looney Tunes, yeah. I mean, beyond Looney Tunes.
But then it's just easier. You don't have to lie about it.
Exactly.
You
I
just
was
do
gonna
it.
say, it's like,
All right, number 4. What is your favorite cartoon character? You can choose just one character.
Oh, wow.
This doesn't have to be from your number one show, or it doesn't even have to be from your list.
Any time genre.
You suck so much.
Favorite
How many
cartoon?
pages you got going now?
No, the way we decided this, I say we, was I was having a little bit of
John
difficulty.
and the voices in his head.
We had a forum.
The royal we.
Forum.
So basically the way I decided this, because I kept going back and forth, was I pulled out my list of all the 80s cartoons I had written down, and Jeff just shuffled the paper around. I put my finger on it, and I chose Bananaman. Mm-hmm. And you're all looking at me like, this answers your question
That's
from the very
unfortunate.
beginning. From the very beginning of the podcast, this answers your question
Yesterday.
about, when we started recording last week. Were there any British cartoons? I think that's what you started to ask me. Were there any British cartoons that I remember? And Bananaman is actually one of the only purely British cartoons that I remember watching while we lived there over in England. And it's basically the story of Shazam.
Oh.
Like, say it's a kid that
Is
turns
there a
into
kid that has to yell Banana Man?
Nope. Every time he eats a banana.
Banana Man!
It's so much better if that's what's happening.
Nope. He to become a muscle-bound superhero, he eats a banana.
Oh, well, there you go.
This is 29 Acacia Road, and this is Eric, the schoolboy who leads an amazing double life. For when Eric eats a banana, an amazing transformation occurs. Eric is Bananaman, ever alert for the call to action.
That's pretty much it.
Phallic symbols aside.
Potassium?
Well, just don't look at his boots. I was looking at a picture right now.
Okay.
It's not good.
Yeah, I bet not.
He has, I don't want to turn my computer around because it'll mess up the recording, but if somebody Googles Bananaman, you can take a look at it. He's got bananas for horns on his costume.
Oh, for the love of God.
Oh, Jesus.
That's insane. You gotta see this.
I'm so glad I've introduced this to you.
What?
What in the world?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Oh, you poor Brits.
There's gonna be a Photoshop version of John as Banana Man.
Hey. Yeah.
If there is.
Oh my Zod!
Yeah, it's
kneel before Zod.
Very, very British.
Yeah.
And whenever he needs more power, he can just eat more bananas, and he gets more power.
That's
potassium power.
There you go.
Oh dear God in heaven.
And he's my hero. He's probably diabetic too. Hence all the bananas.
There you go.
So.
Favorite cartoon.
That's my
character.
favorite.
Dennis, do you have a favorite?
I do. I'm waiting the logos.
Oh, that's harsh.
His favorite's Bugs Bunny in a skirt.
No, it's not.
No.
I mean, when I say favorite, I'm thinking
he
of
answered
when you say favorite of all time, or favorite like as if you would like to be that character. Or did I hear that question wrong?
All I hear is, you mean favorite of all time, or like favorite like a clown favorite?
Yeah, like just favorite to watch.
Like a character that amuses me.
Favorite to watch, like a favorite, not like okay.
I think you're thinking too hard.
I think I
about this.
am. I think I am.
My
I was thinking
favorite
like
cartoon character of all
Too hard,
time
Dennis.
has to be Stewie Griffin.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know we could go outside the 80s.
See, that's what he said of all time.
Yeah, of all time.
Oh,
That's what. Yeah.
Doesn't have to be from your number one show. Oh, here we go again.
Talk about yourselves. Keep going. No,
Stewie Griffin, huh?
I'll stick with Banana Man.
It's
Lewis.
yeah. The range that they play with on that show with him is just hysterical to me.
Mom.
Mommy.
Mommy.
Mom.
And
then
so is there any traction left, or is it pretty much like throwing a hot dog down a hallway? That line alone, just every time that episode comes on, I'm crying.
2 minutes later, he's trying to kill her with a pop gun. It's just good. Favorite character of all time. Yeah,
Pretty
I
much
think
came
so.
waltzing out with a cane. Chris pretty much wrecked it. Oh man!
I didn't realize it was all time. No, crap.
Oh, I bounced around. I used to say Marvin the Martian to that question years ago.
I could have gone Ralph Wiggum. I could have gone all kinds of different directions.
I think I'm going to go Charlie Brown.
Are you?
Ooh, so that was one of my
That's a good one.
possibilities. But
It was. I have a short list forming in my head, but I think I'm going to go Charlie Brown.
I like it.
Okay.
See, I'm going Daffy Duck. This okay? Yeah, I'm just going Daffy Duck, and then I think of that more as like my classic. But then I would also throw in, for some reason, Space Ghost. I think that's more my I love Space Ghost.
Sure.
Just love the. And I think it's more of where I'm at now versus as a kid. If you ask me as a kid, it's probably a different answer, and I can't even picture what that would be because there's so many different choices, and I'd have to see where you're at in your head. But like right now, kind of both somewhat just quick little jokes that you funny.
Funny like a clown.
Funny like a
Yeah,
clown.
like I can't think of one. I'm going to stick with Bananaman.
You do
You
that.
can have him.
Yep. No one's
He's
fighting.
all
for that one.
yours. Question 5. What should we do for our next big anniversary for episode 300?
Well, there's the low-hanging fruit of expanding the cartoon question to include all time.
Do we watch the entire first season of Bananaman and talk about it?
Nope.
Nope. Okay.
That's
It's only an hour long.
That's okay. But that is that's another interesting concept, though. Picking some season of television and saying, all right, in 2 months, we're going to come back and talk about a whole season of TV.
In 2 months.
Well, like, we'd have to plan ahead, like you planned with this one. You told us in January.
How many board meetings are you skipping?
Jackass.
One that wasn't
2 a
mentioned
month.
to you was another. I had like 3. When you Popeye, for some reason. I
Oh,
still like to watch Popeye.
totally.
The reason I like the Popeyes now is because the little stuff you catch as an adult, the little comments. He starts mumbling stuff, and there's stuff here when he mumbles is just so classically hilarious that he says.
Well, if we're
Hey,
expanding our
come here.
list, then I'm going to have to include Mickey Mouse on there.
Oh, yeah.
I think more for just the symbolism than actual. Like, Mickey cartoons are great, especially original Mickey cartoons. They're fantastic. But, let's Winnie the Pooh.
That's what I was just going to say, though. How about Winnie the Pooh?
But
by the way, have you guys seen the new thing? We're reboots and we're talking about animations. What about the
Christopher Robin?
Yeah, Christopher Robin.
I have not.
That was great.
Freaking awesome.
John and I are planning the sequel.
Freaking awesome.
Christopher Robin 2, Electric Poogaloo.
Yeah.
You have not seen it?
No, I've not.
It is
I need
excellent.
to.
It is very, very good.
Hold on.
I was not expecting, and I
Hold
was
on.
just...
Okay. I changed my mind. Not Bananaman, because I just thought favorite character of all time, Elmer Fudd.
Here you go.
I'm going Elmer Fudd.
Okay.
Thank you. I'm done now.
But,
We
yeah.
can go.
But are you, though?
Mickey Mouse and just the
Oh,
whole
there's
Disney
Eric Cartman.
thing.
Why didn't I go with Cartman?
You guys. Let's...
Now, Kitty, there's my pot pie.
You must respect my authority.
Skiing guys, I'm going home.
He doesn't buy it.
There you go.
Yeah. Hey, Beavis.
That dog's
TV
got
my
a boner. Let's get 2 of them.
Check out the unit on that guy.
I need TV for my bunghole. I'm the good Cornelio.
You got TV?
I have TV for my bunghole.
Oh, then there's Hank Hill. Son of a...
That boy
Propane and
ain't
propane
right.
type of products.
And Bobby.
Bobby.
There's some milk in the fridge that's about to go bad. And there it goes. Okay, so clearly
All right,
can't
so-
answer number 4.
Episode 300.
So episode 300. I actually had an idea from Jason, who keeps tweeting us and listening to the podcast.
Jason Colvin.
Jason Colvin. He was tweeting me back and forth about movies that I hadn't seen yet. He's like, well, you got to see this one. And one of the responses when I said, well, okay, so I watched it, I loved it, but I haven't seen the second one. Should I see it? He's like, no, the sequel sucked. I was like, oh, okay. And then I kept thinking, I was like, well, that could be a fun idea for a podcast. Sequels that suck. So maybe for our 300th, maybe we could...
Ghostbusters 2.
Ooh, them's fighting words.
Ooh.
See, I think this could be a good 300th
that
episode.
could be a
Okay.
good one. That could be a pretty good
Maybe
one.
that's
I think
episode
that's
300.
Sequels
My
that
first
suck.
idea was we stormed the hot
There'd be a
gates,
lot of
but then
anger in
was
that episode, though, I
different.
think.
What's that?
There'd be a lot of anger coming out of people.
Maybe. We could talk about
agree.
Temple of Doom.
Pat may still think everything is awesome.
That's true.
It's not,
Everything is
guys.
awesome.
It's not my position to say whether something's good or bad. I'm just here to tell you this is what I like.
I just like that movie.
More
It's a real
motorcycles, more
toe
better.
tapper.
More motorcycles, more better.
Millennium Falcon. I love you, Pat.
Dennis, episode 300. What do you think?
I think that's pretty decent. I'll have to think of some other options, but I think that's a good one. It's a good start.
You do like a best sequel, worst sequel.
Yeah. That's
do
better
something like that.
because I feel like if it's just the worst, it's
Right.
just gonna be a.
Then it's just us
fest.
complaining the
Like,
whole time,
we're just
then,
gonna-
yeah.
I don't like this one.
I don't
Willy
like
Wonka.
it. Well, I don't like
Johnny
you.
Wilder.
I don't like that one either. That wasn't too
Back
bad.
to the Future 2?
Actually, it was
good.
pretty
Back
good.
to the Future 3?
Oh.
That sort of thing?
John's losing friends right now. You okay, John?
This is getting heavy.
He's gonna snap his fingers.
Don't hurt yourself.
That's right.
I was thinking if maybe we did some sort of director study. And just choose a director and do films of a certain director.
Study, no.
He said, I want to study.
That would be cool. No, you're not wrong.
Well,
That'd be very
what
cool.
you said.
He said
study.
That's a lot of work.
You're right? No, that's a great idea, actually. That'd be cool.
But like,
That'd be super cool.
I don't know. Like, I was like, Hitchcock episode.
Yeah.
I think a top 5 director list, man. That's good, too.
That'd be good.
Top 5 musical scores. Did we do that kind of already?
Yeah.
We kind of did on our music.
That was episodes number 200 through 204.
I missed that.
I don't know if I made part 1 of that, but I feel like I made part of it, but not the whole thing.
Yeah.
If that was there, it's covered.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
Well, I think that's.
Did we do best villains ever?
Best co-host of this movie.
Movies that make
Where
you
do you
cry.
start?
Rogue One.
Ghostbusters 2.
Vegals!
It makes me emotional too.
Oh man!
May I put you down? May I put him down? Of course.
Men Don't Leave. Dad.
You're short.
With Ted Danson.
You drool too much, and you're a terrible burden on your mother.
I never understood that joke until
really?
my 50th time seeing that movie. Like, I don't
said
get
when,
it.
When my kids were little and I would hold them, I'd say that to them all the time.
No wonder there's such
This might explain why they are
wonderfully adjusted young people.
And you're a terrible burden on your mother.
All right. Well, gentlemen, thank you for your time over the last 3 hours. Days. Do we still? Is school still in session?
Over. School's out, I think.
Is it June 6th already?
Well, in a half hour, it's 7:30, so kids will be here.
This was fun, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks
for putting it together.
For entertaining
Thank you for
my
organizing
idea.
it.
Thank you.
And we'll see what episode 300 holds for us once we figure out who wants to lead that one. And
Good luck editing this one.
But, yeah, John, have fun.
You know, it's summer's coming up soon.
It edits itself.
Yeah.
The host doesn't have to edit this one, huh?
I should have done that.
Yeah.
Too late.
Well,
it's not in the contract.
That's all right. All right. Well, our typical spiel, I'll finish it off with that. Our typical spiel is go on to 30podcast.com if you want to find all the different ways to get in touch with our show.
It off.
I feel like that's pretty typical.
Such is life. That's how we get through the day.
Yeah, there we go. We do have our movies that are, and I'm trying to remember kind of when this one is going to be. We're recording this a little bit out of order, so looking ahead, I think after this episode, we have got coming up, I believe it's our month of July, should be the movies after this one. So we are looking at Uncle Buck, Born on the 4th of July, Look Who's Talking, Parenthood, and The Fabulous Baker Boys. And what we might do is, if we have time, is at the end of July, we might try to do some kind of a summer blockbuster roundup, because between now and the end of July, there will have been Toy Story 4, Aladdin, Lion King, Spider-Man Far From Home. There will have been a bunch of movies that we might have had a chance to go see and might want to talk about, so we might just leave some of our thoughts until end of July and do a summer roundup. So speaking of, so if you want to jump ahead, those are the movies for July. If you want to jump ahead a little bit further, speaking of Ghostbusters 2, when we get to August, we've got Steel Magnolias, Ghostbusters 2, Weekend at Bernie's, and Always. So that's what we got coming up. So if you want to watch those ahead of time, you can get ahead of the game. If not, that's all right too. We can maybe give you something to think about if you decide you want to watch this movie or not. So, all right. Until next time, thank you guys. Thank you, Jeff, for putting the whole thing together.
Thanks for tolerating a 3-hour discussion about cartoons.
Hey, that's fine. Are you kidding? We would have done this anyway.
Pretty much.
We just happened to hit record.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Be excellent to each other. Go watch some good cartoons. We'll see you back here next time.